Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. We have a Tuesday evening deadline. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Deadlines, I'm just spat everywhere. This isn't a good start. Deadlines going thick and fast. We've got my Christmas tree up just behind the green screen. I mean, it's a shame that my green screen is up because you'd be able to see my very small Christmas tree. It's an exciting part of the season. I love it. It does mean that content is absolutely manic. I mean, I was recording on Sunday. I then had FPL therapy on Monday where I woke up at 5 a.m., had to go down to London, come back from London, got back from London around 7 p.m., sat there and made graphics for a couple of hours, then went and recorded a deadline decisions video. Now we've got the stream. I mean, it is a crazy part of the season, but I am not complaining because there's lots and lots of Premier League football, and really, that's what we're here for. So here we go. Look at us tryhards. I'm not going to lie, if you're sat here waiting for a deadline stream on a Tuesday evening, you are a bit of a tryhard. I'll admit it. Before I say anything else, Durglamax is an absolute legend. The stream hadn't even started, drops the world's largest super chat and just says, "Hi Ross, how are you? Let's make it green." I'm doing well, thank you, and I'm doing even better now after your generosity. That is absolutely ridiculous. And then you've been a member for 12 months as well, as a Raptier X member. So you are single-handedly holding up the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here, as always, and you need to stop being so generous. Shazam, what are you playing at now? This is outrageous. Hey, Russ, evening streams are back. I know we spoke about doing Mbeumo to Saka, but would Brennan Johnson to Saka be better? Green arrows, here we come. Firstly, you two need to stop it because you're being far too generous. The pair of you are amazing. Thank you very much, Shazam. Would I prefer Mbeumo to Saka or Brennan Johnson to Saka? I mean, the data's better for Brennan Johnson, but Mbeumo's on penalties and has better minutes. I would personally prefer to have Mbeumo, but I've actually seen a lot of people this week that have done Mbeumo to Brennan Johnson, which might tell you that maybe I'm a little bit biased. I would still rather keep Mbeumo than Brennan Johnson purely for the minutes and the penalties, but I could see it going either way. Thank you very much for the support. Crazy, 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 crazy. Lots of you are just finishing work, or lots of you are probably very cheekily at work watching the stream, which is not what you should be doing. But let's take a look at how the team is currently lining up. So, it's okay. It's not the best looking team I've seen for this week. And in all honesty, we've had a run now of green arrows. I'm expecting this to be the first red arrow in about 5 or 6 weeks because I don't have Nicholas Jackson. I've got Isak instead at the moment. I'm a bit hesitant on captaincy. I think Haaland could have a good week this week. My defense looks a little bit shaky. It just feels like one of those weeks where I'm not overly happy looking at my team. Like, I don't actually think Cunha and João Pedro are particularly good for this week. I think that game against Everton could be fairly low scoring, like 1-0, 1-1, something like that. I feel like Fulham are a pretty good defence. So, yeah, maybe I'm just a bit pessimistic and I'd rather have low expectations and have those expectations exceeded. But yeah, I'm not overly convinced by my team for this week. In terms of what I'm doing this week, I think at the moment, my plan is probably to roll the transfer. Although there is some temptation to do Isak to Jackson. So that's the first thing I need to decide. Do I want to sell Isak for Jackson? And if not, I'll probably be rolling. I know a lot of people will be selling Mbeumo this week. I really don't mind it. Mbeumo hasn't been very good the last 4 weeks. Only one shot in 4 weeks. His goal threat is down for the season. He's got a tricky run of fixtures. There's a lot of reasons to sell Bryan Mbeumo. But for me, I don't see any options that I think are standout. Like, if I could sell Mbeumo for a forward, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'd sell Mbeumo for Jackson right this second if I could play 4 up top. But the midfielders just aren't exciting me. Really, if I was to sell Mbeumo this week, it's probably for Matoma, Bowen, or Semenyo. And whilst they're fine options, they're not that much better than Mbeumo for me, even with the tricky fixtures. So I just think I'm going to give Mbeumo slightly longer. So really, it's do I sell Isak or not? And then if I don't, it's just benching decisions. Like, I've got to bench one of 8 Nuri, Leif Davis, or Rico Lewis. And I also have to bench one of my 8 attackers. So I'll be deciding that on the stream. There's nothing more really to say on my team at the moment. I think captaincy is fairly easy for me, simply because I just seen a message in the chat. It's quite funny, one sec. Simply for me, the fixture is just so much better for Palmer than anyone else. So I'm going to go Palmer because I think he starts. If you don't think Palmer starts, then of course you can consider someone else. Someone just said, watching on the train, and some guy said he watches your channel too. He joined the stream on his phone. You're a pair of legends. Thank you for letting me know that, Daniel. That's pretty funny. I actually met someone at St. Pancras yesterday that said that I've won him loads of money in his cash mini leagues. He said he's won loads of money from my advice. And whilst I'm not condoning cash leagues because it's against the rules, I'm glad that I'm helping a lot of people out. That's great to hear. Jim says, hi Ross, start Isak over Rodgers and why? Isak's got better data. He's got penalties. If he's fit, his minutes are better. And he's got just more goal threat, more chance of scoring. I think Newcastle will good at home. The only thing, and it is quite a big thing, the only thing in favour of Rodgers for me really is the fixture. And I suppose an extra point for a goal and clean sheet for midfielders as well. But I just think Isak is a significantly better asset than Rodgers, even if he's got a difficult fixture. And I think there's a good chance Isak plays. So this isn't 100%, by the way. I'm very, very close between the two. And in all honesty, I would put Cunha and João Pedro on that list as well. I don't really back either of them to do particularly well this week. So I think the only three players safe from being benched are probably Saka, Palmer, and Salah. I actually just quite fancy starting in Burmo this week because loads of people have sold him. So yeah, it will probably be one of Isak, Cunha, João Pedro, or Rodgers that I benched this week. Rodgers is on the bench at the moment because I think his expected minutes are low and he's the only one that's not on penalties. So that's the only reason right now. But yeah, he's probably got the best fixture of the bunch, so it's something to consider. Mbeumo to Saka for a hit. It depends on what the other transfer is to like free up the funds to do it. But I do think that Saka in for Mbeumo is probably worth a hit, yeah. I just think you want to get Saka in place. This week it might not pay off, but across the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would be hugely surprised if Saka doesn't outscore Mbeumo by 4 points. So I think a lot of the time we're overly hesitant. If it's taking a hit to improve your team value, to get a player that you want, just go ahead and do it. Because, listen, not only is Saka probably going to outscore Mbeumo, but I would imagine that Mbeumo is going to keep falling and Saka's going to keep rising. So it's going to get worse and worse having to make that switch. Elias says, hi Ross, Aina to Virgil or Greaves to Colwill? I honestly think Aina to Virgil because I think Greaves' fixtures are okay coming up. It's fine having a cheap defender on your bench that you don't play very often. As long as he is going to be fit at some point soon, and he's been back in team training, I would probably just go Aina to Van Dijk. And I think Van Dijk is a massive upgrade on Colwill. Phil with an F says, no Manchester United bias. I'm losing my voice. Start 2 of Bruno, Wood, João Pedro. No Manchester United bias. I would start Bruno and João Pedro. I expect City to dominate that game. There's no guarantee that Chris Wood starts, by the way, because he didn't start against Arsenal. And I just think Bruno and João Pedro are better assets for me. So I would start Bruno and João Pedro, and that isn't Manchester United bias. I think Man United will score a maximum of 1, maybe 2 goals, but Bruno has a good chance of being involved in that. So yeah, I would start those two there. By the way, early request, if you are enjoying the stream, please smash that like. There's over 1,200 people in here, and only 83 of you have liked the stream. So if you are enjoying the stream early doors, please do smash that like button. I appreciate it. Guys, Evan Nilsson over João Pedro, yes or no? Honestly, no. I would still go João Pedro, but I don't think it's that... I think it's fairly close. I actually really like Evan Nilsson as an asset, but João Pedro is slightly cheaper. He's got penalties, and I prefer Brighton's fixtures overall. So, yes, I think it's a question you should ask, but I still prefer João Pedro. Kane's Gain says, hey Ross, armband on Saka, reasons to take it off. No, not massively, to be honest. Like, Saka's been balling out. Arsenal are probably one of the best teams in the league, if not the best at the moment, along with, obviously, Liverpool and Chelsea. They're performing incredibly well. Saka is in a nice run of form. It's at home. Manchester United are still shipping chances. If I were to predict this game, I think Arteta probably goes for a controlled game. I think he'll know that Amorim's style of football is a little bit more high intensity. I think he'll try and control the game. If I had to predict how this goes, I'd say 2-0 Arsenal, maybe 2-1 Arsenal. I don't think it will be that close in terms of performance. I expect Arsenal to dominate, but I'm not sure I expect Arsenal to go out and put sort of 5 or 6 past Man United, although they might. But yeah, I still think Saka's an absolutely fine captaincy shout for sure. Dan G says, hey Ross, Palmer or Jackson captain? I think whenever Jackson's a good captaincy option, unless you think Palmer's minutes will be much lower, Palmer's always better. Extra point for a goal, extra point for a clean sheet. He's on penalties. And he's involved in a very similar quantity of goals that Jackson is. So I just think that any given week, if Jackson is a good option, so is Palmer. And I would rather just captain Palmer myself. But yeah, Jackson's got greater goal threat, so maybe you go there. Wood to João Pedro, Solanke to Jackson for a -4. Yeah, I quite like that, Sean. I mean, a lot of people like the idea of holding on to Solanke, but I just think that's a nice set of transfers. I'd be very tempted to do that, Sean, honestly. Bramjot says, Mbeumo, Vardy, João Pedro, Rodgers, bench 1. Ooh, that is really tough. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't bench Mbeumo. I would probably go Vardy or Rodgers. I'm tempted to say Vardy just because Leicester aren't very good and Vardy struggled a little bit this season, but new manager bounce on penalties, not playing against a particularly strong defence. I'd probably say Morgan Rogers out of those four if I had to bench one. I'd want to start Vardy, I think. Hopeful Subway says, hi Ross, start Rogers or Semenyo, love the stream. Thank you very much. I'd honestly start Semenyo, believe it or not. I just worry about Rogers' minutes. I really do. And also his performances have not been particularly good in recent weeks. A lot of Villa fans calling for him to be rotated a little bit more often, to give Duran a start alongside Watkins. I just think there's enough to put me off Rogers. But at the same time, I might end up starting him this week. I'm not really sure. Chintan says, start Rico or Miko. So Rico Lewis or Mikalenko. That's a very tough one. I think Wolves score, so I would probably start Rico Lewis and just hope that he starts. But if you yourself think that Rico Lewis is not going to start and there's enough doubt, then maybe Mikalenko's the safer one. Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Jintan. Ross, bench one of Wissa, Rogers, or Mbermo. Wissa, Rogers, or Mbermo. Wow, that's tough. I would start Mbermo because he's on pens and the other two aren't. And then I guess it just depends which way you predict the game going. Like, I would ask you, predict the Brentford Villa score without FPL in mind. Which team do you expect to score goals? Which team do you expect to dominate? It's probably going to be quite low scoring. I think I would start Wissa. And the reason for that is his data is over double that of Rogers in terms of expected goal involvement. I would probably go all in on Brentford and start Wissa and Mbermo, but that's a very, very close one. Joseph Stack says, sup Ross, love walking the dog and listening to FPL Therapy this morning. Thank you very much. Planning Mbermo and Ola Aina to Semenyo and Van Dijk for game week 15, but would be for a -4. Is it worth it? Honestly, I'm probably planning something very similar, maybe around game week 16, but I like the general idea of downgrading Mbermo to Semenyo to get a Liverpool defender in. So for my team, I'm looking at doing Mbermo to Semenyo in 16, and in that week doing Lewis to Van Dijk or Trent if I can afford him. So yeah, I am looking at something very similar myself, Joseph, so it probably is going to be worth it, unless Mbermo looks a lot better this week, unless Brentford go back to that 3 at the back with Mbermo as a forward, then you might be slightly tempted to hold on to him. But yeah, I think it really depends on how Mbermo gets on this week overall. But thank you very much for listening to FPL Therapy. And thank you for all of the kind words, by the way, to everyone that watches the podcast and listens. I do really appreciate it. Discover with Sim says, Enzo budget midfield. Start him or Eva Nilsson. I like Enzo a lot, and it's Southampton, but I think there could be rotation. I'm not convinced that he definitely starts. I'd probably start Eva Nilsson. I think Eva Nilsson's been very good. I think Bournemouth will score goals in that game. So yeah, I'd probably go Eva Nilsson myself. Dean Smith has become a Rap Tier 2 member. Thank you very much, Dean. I appreciate it. Callum says, start one of Greaves or Aina. I'd start Greaves and hope for a bullet header because I doubt it'll make a cameo. So it will either be a start for him at home or not. Already used my one free transfer to do Mbermo to Saka for free. Yep, that's brilliant. Thinking Aina could go massive if Forest keep a clean sheet. Yeah, obviously Aina will go massive if they keep a clean sheet. He'll at least get the clean sheet. But I think the chance of a clean sheet against City is, even in their form that they're in right now, I think it's very slim. I would probably start Greaves ahead of Ola myself. But if you've got a bit of a feeling about Ola, which it sounds like you might, I would trust your gut feeling more than I would trust my opinion, to be honest. As I always say, and this isn't a cop-out because this is the whole purpose of my streams, is to give you advice, I do think benching decisions are very, very unpredictable, right? In a single week, there's so much that can happen. Like, you need a lot of luck and variance on your side. So I will do my best to help you. But if you've got a bit of a gut feeling with a benching decision, I would trust your gut feeling. Emre says, bench one of João Pedro and Mbermo or Rogers. I'm in exactly the same position myself, so just continue watching my stream and see what happens on my stream. But at the moment, I'm leaning Rogers because he's the only one of the three that's not on penalties. I also think his expected minutes are quite low. I will say probably for João Pedro, his expected mins are quite low as well, but I would say probably slightly lower for Rogers, believe it or not, because Brighton don't play until Thursday, so I think that's enough rest time for João Pedro. By the way, before I carry on, I did see FPL Instinctive posted that João Pedro wasn't seen in training. So he said, yeah, Matoma was pictured in training, which is good if you're looking to bring him in, but João Pedro, Danny Welbeck and Lewis Dunk weren't. He did say that there's like there could be numerous reasons for that. He's still got João Pedro in his predicted starting 11, but there were quite a few clips where João Pedro wasn't in it. So João Pedro could have been doing media duty. He might have a deload day. There are days when some players just don't train because they've been training on various other days, especially if they've just come back from injury. So I don't think this necessarily means that you can sit there and say, oh, João Pedro's not going to play because he's not been in training. But there is some doubt associated with him as a result. I mean, I'm not going to bring it up again because it's something very minor for me, but it might be that all of these benching decisions get made for us if he misses out. It also does tempt me to say he's the one to be benched, but I don't think we've got enough to go off, sadly, to make that decision. So yeah, as of right now, he's still in my starting 11. Lukey Boy says, hi Ross, could you rank Semenyo, Bruno and Isak for this week? Only need to bench one of them. Thanks for all of the work that you put into the content this week. I appreciate that. I'm a sucker for penalty takers, so my initial instinct is bench Semenyo because Bruno and Isak are talismanic players on pens. I think there's a very good chance that Isak doesn't play at all, and then you get Semenyo off the bench anyway. So if it was me, I'd probably start Bruno and Isak, and I would bench Semenyo, but I think that's very, very close. I think the one that you don't bench is Bruno, because I think he'll play as the 10. I think he's the most likely one to get a return for Manchester United if someone does. So I would say it's probably between Semenyo and Isak in terms of a benching. Sam says, start Raya or Fabianski, bench Rodgers and Burmo or Rao. I would start Raya ahead of Fabianski. I just think Leicester score, and I think Manchester United are probably less likely to score than Leicester, believe it or not. And on Rodgers and Burmo or Rao, I would honestly bench Raul Jimenez because I think he's got the greatest chance of being on the bench this week. I think if there's a game to give Muniz a start, it's probably this one, but I think that's very close. I wouldn't bench Burmo, so for me it would be between Rodgers and Raul Jimenez. Ewan says, hi Ross, Wood to Jackson, Mikalenko to Trent or Roll? Oh, I would probably go Wood to Jackson this week if you've got that opportunity, yeah. I honestly, I was going to say I would do both, but you obviously can't do both because you'd have no funds. I really like the idea of getting Trent in for Mikalenko, but I just think Wood to Jackson has such high upside this week. Badman2 says, hi Ross, 4 free transfers, 2.9 million in the bank. Imagine having 4 free transfers. Would you prioritise Wood to Jackson and start Mikalenko, or Dallo to Trent and start Wood? Can also do both if I do Mbeumo to Matoma. Would you prioritise Wood to Jackson and start Mikalenko, or Dallo to Trent? I guess it's a similar sort of situation to what Ewan's in. I think Wood to Jackson has more upside this week, but I do think that getting Trent or Van Dijk into your team in the near future should also be a priority. So I'm gonna say Wood to Jackson, but I think it is pretty close there. Paul says, Ross, am I mad doing this? Lewis to Kirkes, Delap, Evanilson / Rodgers to Kluivert. This would be a -4. Lewis to Kirkes. I assume you mean Delap to Evanilson and then Rodgers to Kluivert. I'm a bit confused, Paul, by your super chat without the punctuation. Lewis to Kirkes isn't a move that I would make this week. Delap to Evanilson isn't a move I'd make this week if that's what you're doing. Rodgers to Kluivert isn't a move that I'd want to make. I don't mind some of these transfers, but none of them feel like a priority this week. Unless I'm misreading this, none of those feel like upgrades or good transfers in terms of fixtures this week. Start Fabianski or Raya. I think in most cases I would start Raya. I think the only situation, which is going to be very few people, where I would start Fabianski is maybe if you've got like triple Arsenal defence. If you've got like Timber, Gabriel and Raya, then maybe you say, do you know what? I don't need triple Arsenal defence against United. I'll maybe start Fabianski. But even if it's like a double up, even if you've got Raya and Gabriel, I still feel like I'd play Raya over Fabianski in most cases. Zodiac says, hey Raptor, I'm tempted to do Mbeumo to Sharda / Semenyo. That gives me the option to do Wood to Jackson. What do you think? Got 4 free transfers. I think Sharda's a rubbish pick in the long term. I don't get the Sharda love because, yes, I think if they stay with the 4 at the back, he's very likely to start on the left. But if they switch to a 3-5-2, which I think is highly feasible in some games, it's 2 of Wissa, Thiago, Sharda, and Mbeumo. And I just think Sharda's minutes aren't going to be quite good enough. So I just don't think it's worth that. So I guess the option then is Mbeumo to Semenyo to do Wood to Jackson. I'd probably do that. Yeah, I would. Mbeumo to Semenyo, Wood to Jackson. I think as a pairing, Semenyo and Jackson is much better than Wood and Mbeumo. And I think especially because you've got 4 free transfers, it's not like you're using your only available free transfers to get that done. So yeah, I would probably do it. If I had a few free transfers this week, 3 or 4, I'd be more tempted to do stuff like Mbeumo to Semenyo, Rico Lewis to Trent, or something along those lines. But because I only have the one, it just feels like a waste selling Mbeumo for me. I've had 3 red arrows in a row, so I've done an aggressive -8 move of Kulusevski, Ruta, and Mbeumo to Ødegaard, Bowen, Palmer, and I will be captaining Palmer as well. Okay. Kulusevski, Ruta, and Mbeumo to Ødegaard, Bowen, Palmer. Overall, I don't necessarily hate that, but I actually quite like Ruta as an option, and Kulusevski's not got a bad fixture this week. I don't mind it. Listen, you're getting Palmer in, which is the main thing. And also, I really do quite like the Ødegaard punt. And Bowen's got great fixtures. So do you know what? Salah. I really like it a lot. It's not a bad set of moves. But I do think it's also something that could backfire a little bit. Bench 1 of Rico, Luca Dean, 8 Nuri, or Robinson. That's very tough, actually, isn't it? That's a little bit tougher than I thought. I wouldn't be benching. I like Luca Dean and 8 Nuri. I think it'd be one of Rico Lewis or Robinson. I'd probably bench Rico Lewis because he's the least likely to start out of the 4. Or he's the most likely to be rotated, I think. So yeah, I'd probably start Luca Dean, 8 Nuri, and Robinson, Yusuf. Start DCL or Isak. Definitely Isak. Or a -4 to take one of them out. I would leave it for now and I'd just start Isak and bench DCL. Even if DCL had like Leicester at home, I'd still probably start Isak. He's just a significantly better FPL asset. You don't even know if DCL is going to start either. I know that's the same for Isak, but Isak's is injury dependent. DCL is just not very good. Palmer triple captain. How'd you come up with the name FPL Raptor? I am a Toronto Raptors fan, so from the NBA, if you don't watch basketball. And Palmer triple captain. I'm going to say no, purely because it's a midweek fixture. If this was a weekend fixture with a full week break, I would say yes. But I still think that even though he's not played much football this season in comparison to other players, I do think there is a chance that he gets an early sub because it's a midweek game. I think if Chelsea are 2-0 up against Southampton in the 60th minute, we could see the likes of Jackson and Palmer off the pitch. So I think there's enough for me to probably say no to triple captain. But I still like it as a fixture. Saliba to Trent next week. Maybe. Oh, that's a very luxury transfer, though, because I think Saliba's an absolutely fine hold. But I do prefer Trent to Saliba. So I feel like if you've got a free transfer just sat there and you don't need anything, there's nothing else you can do with it to improve your team, then yeah, I like Saliba to Trent. Nick says, bench 1 of Rodgers, Cunha, João Pedro, Bruno, Wissa. God, the benching headaches this week are awful. Probably Rodgers. Maybe Wissa. I just think Cunha, João Pedro, Bruno again, all on pens. All very talismanic. Rodgers and Wissa, a little bit less talismanic and also not on pens as well. My camera gone. My camera has gone. Didn't last very long today for its first bout. Only 27 minutes. Sell Wissa to João Pedro to fund Solanke to Jackson. Wissa to João Pedro, Solanke to Jackson. If that's for free, J. Ricky, I would say yes. If it's for a hit, I would probably say no. Because I actually think Wissa and Solanke are fine this week, assuming Solanke's fit enough to start. I've seen a couple of people asking, is Solanke fit enough to start? I'll be honest, I don't know. He was apparently ill. He then came to training and trained. And then the next day, apparently, he came to training again and was a little bit ill again. So it sounds like he's struggling with an illness. I don't know what the illness is, and I don't know how long it will take to get over it. But he's still got a couple of days. I would imagine Solanke is probably okay. And so I would only do that if it's for free. There we go. Scott says, I have Fabianski, Gabriel, Timber, 8 Nuri, Saka, Bowen, Salah, Palmer, Cunha, João Pedro, Jackson. It's a great team. Bench, Onana, Hall, Semenyo, and O'Shea. 1 transfer, 0 in the bank. Any advice? Any advice? None. That's a cracking team, Scott. It's like a 10 out of 10 team. Almost looks like a free hit. No advice. Great team. You're in a very good position going forward. I mean, I would trade my team for yours in a heartbeat. I like that team a lot. Very, very nice. Nothing else to say, honestly. Omkar says, hi, Ross. Isak to Evan Ilson. And then Burmo to Saka. I have Fernandez, Salah, Palmer, Cunha, João Pedro. If that's for free, Omkar, if you've got free transfers to get that done, I would say yes. If it's for a hit, I would say no. But I definitely think Evan Ilson and Saka is probably a slightly better combo than Isak and Mbeumo. I think it's close, but I still prefer the latter. So yeah, I would get it done if it's for free. Phil with an F says, one more. Wood to Jackson or Cunha, -4. I'd be tempted by Jackson this week. Yeah, I'd be very tempted by Jackson. I think Cunha for the next 4 could do very well, especially if Jackson gets suspended. But the upside is so high this week, and I don't think Cunha will do that well against Everton. I'd probably go Jackson. Bench Bruno or Wissa. On Bruno at the moment as I have Saliba. I would start Bruno ahead of Wissa because I just think he's a better FPL asset. I think his minutes are slightly more secure and he's on penalties. So I would start Bruno, but I obviously understand that Wissa has been really good this season. And if you've got Saliba, maybe you are just backing the Arsenal clean sheet. Hey Rapture, I'm trying to sort out our route to Saka. My only option is Gvardiol and Bruno to a formerly in defender and Saka for a hit. I wonder if you just wait a week then and then find another way. Because if you wait a week, you can make like 3 transfers for a -4 hit. And that will allow you to maybe have a better route. Because I don't really like that route. I think you want to keep that premium spot in the defence and move him to Timber or Van Dijk soon. So I would probably say no for now and try and find a better route next week. But I do understand, obviously, like you want to get Saka in as soon as possible. But I probably wouldn't do that. Joe Strickland, and by the way, thank you for being a Raptor 1 member for 3 months. Joe Strickland says, in Burmo/Bowen or Garnacho/Kudus, we have the same 11 bench. In Burmo, Bowen, Garnacho, Kudus. So if I was choosing afresh this week, I'd probably marginally prefer Bowen to Mbeumo just for the fixtures, but I think Mbeumo's a better asset. Garnacho, Kudus, I'd probably go Kudus. So Bowen and Kudus out of those sets of options, I think. Would you play Mbeumo over Wood or Johnson? I would play Mbeumo over... I'd play Mbeumo over both. I would order them Mbeumo, Johnson, Wood, Trina. But yeah, I still don't think Mbeumo's as bad as some people are suggesting. Frosty with the super chat. Oh my God, I'm not even going to read that out, Frosty, because you're going to start stressing people out. What do you reckon of Dalot to Van Dijk and Mbeumo to Ødegaard? My original plan was Dalot to Trent and Mbeumo to Bowen, but Bowen doesn't feel great at the moment. Van Dijk and Ødegaard or Trent and Bowen? I will say, Frosty, I'm not going to help you. No, I am. I think that Van Dijk and Ødegaard is the safer pairing going into December and January. And I feel like if I was to guess, that pair would outscore Trent and Bowen. However, I think Trent and Bowen has a higher ceiling. Because I think Bowen, with his fixtures, being as talismanic as he is, could go big in a couple of those. And Trent is just a better asset than Van Dijk if he plays a similar amount of minutes. So I think VVD and Ødegaard is the safer pairing, and I would probably lean that way, but I think Trent and Bowen's a bit more exciting and probably has a higher ceiling, just about. Thank you for the super chat, my man, I appreciate it. Toby D says, 1 free transfer, Mbeumo to Matoma/Ødegaard or hold? I would honestly hold. Now, before the stream, it's weird, because Frosty and Toby now have just mentioned Ødegaard. I did look, and I can do Mbeumo to Ødegaard, and all of a sudden I'm like, I quite like that. Now, if it was a slightly better entry point, I'd be more tempted. And I'm not saying Manchester United are going to keep Arsenal at bay, but I feel like there are better fixtures. Like, if it was a Southampton, Leicester, Ipswich kind of fixture for Arsenal, I'd be a lot more tempted. I really like Ødegaard as a pick. Maybe a player that I should have discussed in more detail this week, because I think he will continue to return. His data since coming back from injury has actually been pretty good. So I quite like it. But I think I'm going to hold Mbeumo. I would be really annoyed at myself if I sold Mbeumo and then he ended up playing as part of the front two, which I think is highly possible. Hatik says, got Jackson this game week, Captain Salah or Cole Palmer. I don't think having Jackson reflects anything. I'd still go Cole Palmer. Captain Cole feels too reliant on Chelsea. I do get this perspective of if you've got a Chelsea double up in the attack, Captain Salah to hedge your bets a bit. But you've already gone all in on Chelsea, right? By owning Cole Palmer and Jackson, you're already all in. You might as well fully commit and just hope that Chelsea put quite a few goals past Southampton. So yeah, I would still captain Cole Palmer. Would you start Sells or Fabianski? I'd definitely start Fabianski there. And keep up the good work with FPL Therapy. I appreciate that. I really appreciate all of the support on the podcast. It means a lot. Bench 1 of Semenyo, Mbeumo, Raul Jimenez, João Pedro. Semenyo, Mbeumo, Raul Jimenez, João Pedro. Oh, that's horrible. I would probably bench Raul Jimenez from those 4 options, Mohar, but I sold him last week, so I may be a little bit biased against him. But yeah, I would probably bench. Would I? I probably would bench Raul Jimenez because I do think there's a chance that he misses out. Hi, Ross. Good to see you, Ayman. Ayman. Sorry for butchering everyone's names. Hi, Ross. Bench João Pedro or Wissa? I'd probably just about bench Wissa, but I think that's very, very close. Bench boost with Fabianski, Lewis, Rodgers, and Greaves. Not quite for me, because I think Lewis and Rodgers and Greaves are all rotation risks. Like, Greaves still hasn't started. Lewis, I think, is due a rest, and Rodgers hasn't been playing very well. I just think there's enough there that, like, you could see 2 of the 3 or even all 3 of those miss out. I'm sort of thinking something similar myself. Like, if I can sell Van den Berg for, like, Joe Gomez or Colwill or Van Hecker, and then I could bench boost myself. But I've got Isak and Gabriel, who are both flagged. Rodgers and Lewis are rotation risks. We know that João Pedro, even though it's probably nothing, wasn't seen in training today. So I feel like there's enough around the players that just puts me off of a bench boost this week. Especially midweek as well. I feel like a midweek set of games is very dangerous to bench boost. Polkit says, sorry about that loud engine outside. Polkit says, hi Ross, hope you are feeling better. I'm feeling a bit better. I've sadly got another illness, but I'm not going to complain because it's going to just sound like I'm constantly ill. But I'm okay, thanks. Haaland captain. I think Haaland is the second best captain this game week after Palmer, but I think there is a gap between Palmer and Haaland. So as you say, Nottingham Forest are the second best defence in the league this season. I can't remember who said this. I think it was on the FPL wire. It was one of Prazov or Pranil, but someone said, I doubt City go from like losing 6 of the last 7 games to then putting like 5 goals past Nottingham Forest. Like if City win this game, which I do think they will, it's going to be a bit of a struggle, right? It's going to be one of those games where I think they even if they dominate, I don't think they're going to suddenly just go and put, like I said, like 4 or 5 goals past one of the better defences in the league. It's probably going to be like 1-0, 2-1, maybe 3-1. And of course, if City win 3-1, Haaland could get a hat-trick. But I almost feel like you need to see a little bit more from Man City before you start looking at Haaland captain again, personally, for me. Any chance Rodgers can take a pen? Tielemans sucks. Yeah, Rodgers took a pen earlier in the season for the under-21s for England. It was quite good. I don't think we can sit here with any confidence and say that Rodgers takes the next pen until we see it. If we see it and Rodgers becomes a penalty taker, well, firstly, I messed up. But then secondly, I think he becomes a very, very viable option to start most weeks because it's another advantage that he has, obviously, if he scores it. Kay says, I have no free transfers. Good to do. Bruno and Mbeumo to Saka and Semenyo. No. I mean, yes, I prefer Saka and Semenyo to Bruno and Mbeumo, but that means it would be for a -8 hit. So I wouldn't do that. I would do it next week for a -4 or the week after for free. I just think Bruno and Mbeumo, but again, both penalty taking talisman, 90 minutes. There's a good chance that one or both do something. Let's say that only one of them gets a goal. Let's just say one of them gets a goal and the other one blanks. You're then needing Saka and Semenyo to get like 20 points between them to make up the hit. So I would probably leave it for me. And I would do it next week or the week after. Gunnar Ryan said, had Haaland 3's blanks, do I captain him or Palmer? Ignore the fact that you've owned Haaland 3's blanks. I think Palmer's a better captaincy option this week. So I would captain Palmer. Rob says, I have 2 free transfers. Think that makes Isak to Jackson worth it. I don't know because Isak can definitely reverse the swing in the next 4. I have Rodgers on the bench, but unlike you, I have 2 free transfers. If I had 2 free transfers, would that make me significantly more likely to do Isak to Jackson? I think it would improve the chances that I do it, but I still think I would roll. I still don't think I'd make the move. So I'm going to say, ignore the fact that you've got 2 free transfers and just over the next 4 weeks, do you think Jackson outscores Isak? If you think the answer to that is yes, taking into account the suspension and the fixtures after this week, then get the move done. I'm less convinced, so I'm not going to make the move. Start Rodgers or Vardy. Loving the content, by the way. Thank you very much. I'd honestly start Vardy. New manager bounce, better. I would probably a similar fixture, actually. But Vardy's on penalties and he's a number 9. So I would probably start Vardy, honestly. Sumac says, hi Ross, 2 free transfers. 1, Isak and Mbeumo to Pedro Son. Or 2, Isak Powell to Pedro Van Dijk. 3, Isak to Jackson, 4 roll. I think I probably go 4-2-3-1. 4-2-3-1, Sumac. So I would roll If you want to make a move, I think Isak and Pau to João Pedro. Do you know what, actually? I might like 2 as my favourite option there. Pedro rather than Isak, Van Dijk rather than Pau. I would go option 2, then roll, then 3, then 1. But yeah, I quite like the idea of getting... My priority at the moment is upgrading Lewis to one of Timber, Van Dijk, or Trent. I quite want a Liverpool defender in my team. So I feel like if you've got an option to get a Liverpool defender this week, it's really not a bad shout. Start Rao or Semenyo. That's incredibly close. One's on penalties, Jimenez, but Semenyo's more likely to get good minutes. I'd probably start Semenyo, just because I think Rao's more of a rotation risk. Any budget defender to bring in, not Gabriel. Oh, sorry. Any budget, which defender to bring in? I'd go Trent or Van Dijk. So for me, the order of defenders this week is Gabriel, Trent, Van Dijk, Timber. So yeah, I'd go an Arsenal defender if you're saying not Gabriel and you've got any budget. Sorry, Liverpool defender. Wissa and Mbeumo to Jackson, Ruta, Rogers. Who is better? Wissa and Mbeumo to Jackson and one of Ruta or Rogers. I don't really love either that much. I would go Semenyo if you can afford Semenyo. If you can't afford Semenyo, probably I would maybe take the risk on Ruta ahead of Rogers. I'm not convinced fully by Rogers at the moment. So yeah, Wissa and Mbeumo to Jackson and Ruta. If that's for free, I don't hate it. Move with Mike says, hi Ross, I have one free transfer. Okay. Start Aina, Hall, or Greaves with Gabriel / 8 Nuri. Or transfer Aina to Colwell / Gomez, or a punt on Welbeck to Delap. Good fixtures. I'd keep Welbeck. Start Aina, Hall, or Greaves. I don't mind the idea of Ola Aina to Colwell or Gomez this week. I just think there's not many clean sheet chances in the next 5 or 6 fixtures for Nottingham Forest, and that's a long time to have to hold a player that you don't really want. 8 Nuri is a suspension risk. Greaves, we don't even know if he's going to be in the starting 11 again. I would probably do Aina to Colwell or Joe Gomez, and I'd probably lean Colwell at the moment. Super Duper has been a member for 17 months. Thank you very much. Do you not think Palmer could be rotated? I would say there's a 5 to 10% chance Palmer doesn't start this game. I'd be very surprised, though. Right? Well, like, he's been rested every midweek, which you might look at and say, well, it's a midweek game. He's going to be rested again. So I understand that perspective. But I would say the flip side, he should be feeling very fresh and very fit, because the very purpose of resting him in these Europa Conference League games is to make sure that he's fit and available for league games. So surely a man of his age should be fit and available to start one midweek game, given that it's a Prem game. Now, do I think he'll get 90? No. I think he'll probably get more like 80 minutes if I had to predict, but I would be surprised if Palmer doesn't start. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would be surprised. I can't predict the future, sadly, so there is always a chance. Hi, Ross. A few questions. No worries. Which 2 to start? Greaves, Veltman, Mikalenko. I'd probably start Greaves and Mikalenko. Which 2 to start? Isak, Mbeumo, Semenyo. I would probably start the 2 penalty takers, Isak and Mbeumo. Sell Mbeumo for Bowen or Matoma. I mean, you could sell Mbeumo for Bowen or Matoma. I prefer Matoma, but Bowen has better fixtures, I would say, and his minutes are probably slightly more secure. But I just wouldn't sell Mbeumo. I think Mbeumo's fine to keep for a couple of weeks. If we keep Mbeumo for a couple more game weeks and his data's still not good, like if after the Newcastle game, Mbeumo's still not taking shots, then I will look to sell him then. But I feel like I want to give him a couple more. Especially as we don't know if they might switch to a 3 at the back for these upcoming games. By the way, if you are enjoying today's stream, we are trying to hit 140,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. We're actually very close, less than 1,000 subscribers away. So if you are enjoying the stream, please do subscribe. I would appreciate it a lot. Taylor says, start 2 out of Rico, Luka Dean, and 8 Nuri. I would bench Rico Lewis just simply because I think he's got the lowest chance of well, he's got the highest chance of being benched. I do agree with you that Luka Dean could also be benched himself, but I just don't think it's as likely. Also, would you start Rodgers over Wood? Yes, I would. That's no pun intended. Yes, I would. So yeah, I would bench Rico Lewis and Chris Wood there from your options, Taylor. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate it. And thank you for the super chat. Jeremy says, ahoy, Ross. Hope you are doing great. I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Would you do Wood to Jackson for a hit or play Rodgers instead? I would probably just play Rodgers instead. If it was for free, I would do it, but I don't know that it's worth taking a hit just to bench Rodgers. So I'm going to say no, I wouldn't do it. Sell Flecken or O'Shea this week, and who for? It is so difficult to answer that without seeing your team. I don't think selling Flecken is a priority, and I would only sell O'Shea if the rest of your defense looks absolutely appalling. I mean, you could even start O'Shea and just hope that he starts once again. Out of the two, I'd rather sell O'Shea, but I'd need to see so much more to help you with that. Dan says, hi, Ross. Similar benching headache to you this week. Okay. Start one of Lewis, Ryan Nuriel Davis. Is there one you're more keen on? Missed your thoughts on it so far. Yeah, so as you say, I've got that decision myself. I'm at the moment just leaning towards benching Rico Lewis because he is the only one of the three that I think has a chance of being on the bench himself. Like Leif Davis and Nuri have very, very good minutes every single week. I also think that they're as attacking, if not slightly more attacking than Rico Lewis. And they've both got good fixtures as well. The only thing in favour of Rico Lewis is that traditionally, City are a better defence. But in the last few weeks, they've not been any better than Ipswich and Wolves. So yeah, I just think there are enough reasons for me to suggest benching Rico Lewis. But I think most other people would probably tell you to bench Leif Davis because they don't like him. Start Fabianski or Verbruggen. Oh, that's a tough one. Brighton are a much better defence. Fabianski's got the better fixture. I would probably start Fabianski ahead of Verbruggen. But I do think that Verbruggen, if you look at clean sheet odds, Verbruggen's probably got a slightly greater chance for a clean sheet. That's very, very tough, though. I have Smith Rowe and Kudus. I wouldn't let that affect you too much, but I would probably start Fabianski. Trina says, got a headache with my defence. Okay. Got 8 Nuri, Fass, Lewis, Luca Dean, and Robinson. Okay, 8 Nuri, Fass, Lewis, Luca Dean, and Robinson. Flecken and Leno as goalies, so not sure who to play and who to sell. I mean, I don't think you need to sell any of those players there. Got a headache with my defence. Got 8 Nuri, Fast, Lewis, Luca Dean, and Robinson. I mean, you don't sell 8 Nuri. You don't sell Luca Dean, and you don't sell Robinson. I don't think you sell any of those defenders desperately this week. But if you are going to, it's Fast or Lewis. They're also the two that I would bench. So if you're trying to start 3 of them, I would be starting 8 Nuri, Luca Dean, and Robinson. Flecken and Leno. Again, you're not selling either of them. I think both concede, but I'd probably start Leno because he's playing for the better defence at home. That does mean it's a double up on the Fulham defence, but I still don't mind that, Trina. Yeah, I don't think you need to sell any of those players this week. Jamie says, on wildcard, Trent and Matoma or Van Dijk and Johnson? Trent and Matoma for me. Swiss Birdie says, thoughts on Madueke? I think he's fine, but I don't know that I would want to take the risk desperately. But he should start Southampton, you'd imagine. And they've got good fixtures coming up. But yeah, I wouldn't be that desperate to bring in Madueke right now. Want to go Aina to Gusto/Kukurea, but don't have the cash. I could roll and go with Gabriel Greaves and Mikalenko to do it next week or take a hit now. Yeah, I would do that. I think your defense of Gabriel Greaves and Mikalenko is absolutely fine. I don't think there's any need to take a hit this week to buy Gusto or Kukurea. I know this is obviously a good fixture, but we don't know how much rotation there might be. We don't know about early subs. And I also think Southampton could score in this game. So I would probably leave it for now. Any news on the mystery chip yet? No. We're supposed to find out this month. So I would imagine my guess is next week, right? It's a bit hectic this week with the midweek deadline. I reckon next Tuesday we might get an update. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, we might get an update on the mystery chip. Hopefully we do. Right? Play Badia Shil. He starts as a Chelsea fan, or 8 Nuri. If you're very confident Badia Shil starts, I'd probably play Badia Shil. But I think there's a chance Tosin or Dazassi play, so that might be enough to put me off. Yeah, we should really be getting mystery chip news, shouldn't we, soon? They've not even teased about it. So yeah, I reckon next week will probably be when we get it. It might even be later than that. Izzy Gaming says, hiding at work. Any news on Palmer, Mr. Egg? Safe captain? No news on Palmer, and I don't think we will. I think he's safe enough for me to do it. Like, if I'm captaining Palmer, I obviously expect his minutes to be good enough that I'm willing to take the risk. So yeah, I would be fine. And get back to work, Izzy. AKU says, hey, Rossi, happy midweek deadline. Happy midweek deadline to you. Who would you start between Timber, Luca Dean, and Greaves? I'm starting Gabriel and Ryan Nuri. I'd start Yuri and Timber. Good going forward at the moment for Arsenal at right back, and also playing for the best defence. Yeah, I would go Timber. But I do think Luca Dean's great as well. I would probably be tempted to start Luca Dean ahead of Ryan Nuri, to be honest, AKU. Gary says, hi, Ross. Hope you're feeling okay. I am feeling a little bit better, thank you. Who would you bench between Semenyo, Bruno, João Pedro, and Cunha? Semenyo, Bruno, João Pedro, Cunha. Oh, what a question. What a question. I would probably bench Semenyo, but I think it's very, very close. Love the content. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Yeah, the only reason for Semenyo is that Bruno, João Pedro, and Cunha, they're all very talismanic players on penalties. Like, if Man United, Brighton, or Wolves score, I'm expecting the three of them to be involved in it. And like I said, because of the pens, like we saw it with Chris Wood, with Cliver, with Erdegaard, we saw it with players last week. All they need is a penalty, and all of a sudden you're looking at like 8 to 10 points for these players. So, yeah, I find it very difficult to bench penalty takers. But in some weeks, you get no penalties. Then you're sat there thinking, why have I just started all my penalty takers? So it comes and goes, the penalties. But it's very difficult to try and predict when they arrive. KG says, Raya to Sanchez for a hit. No. Allows Salah for Bruno. Oof. I would just do that like when you want to. Unless you're saying you're going to bring in Salah for Bruno this week, I would just do Raya to Sanchez when you want to bring in Salah for Bruno. If you're telling me that it's Raya to Sanchez and Salah to Bruno for like a -8, I'm not even sure I would do that, honestly. I don't think Salah will go that massive this week. Thoughts on what the mystery chip could be, Ross? I've got no idea, Joseph. I think it will be something very unique. Right? Because if it was just something like another free hit or a limitless or like you get 2 captains in a week, like why are you mystery chipping that? Like why are you hiding that? Why are you waiting to tell us? Just tell us at the start of the season. I feel like it's got to be something a little bit unique in the way that it's played or the way that it's formatted. So I don't have any ideas, but I'm hoping and imagining that it will be quite a unique idea. If it's not, they've just screwed up, because why not just tell us at the start of the season? Like, it's not like it's even built any intrigue. It's not like all these last months we've been like, oh my God, what's the mystery chip going to be? It's just a bit annoying. Like, just tell us what it is. Because the thing is, FPL is a game of planning, right? The best thing about FPL is the planning and the trying to think about how your team might look for the future and chip strategies. And you can't do that when you don't even know what the mystery chip is. So I feel like they should have just told us. Posh has been a member for 21 months. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. J Pups says, Foden to Bowen for a -4. Would be a -4 next week anyways to fund Anderson to Timber. Thanks. Yeah. I've no issue with that. I really don't think Foden's playing particularly well. I don't think City put that many goals past Forest, and I don't even know that Foden definitely starts. I would be happy to do Foden to Bowen for a -4, yeah. And it's a great entry point for Jared Bowen as well. Johan says, in Burmo Wood to Jackson Bowen -4, no regrets. Good luck, 40k. That's a great rank and a pretty nice set of transfers as well. I've got no issue with that, Johan. Thanks for the advice on Aina to Colwell. You're more than welcome. Just realised I have the exact funds for Aina/Welbeck to Van Dijk/Delap for a -4. What are your thoughts? I really don't love selling Welbeck, but I do really love getting a Liverpool defender in. I'm still going to say no. I probably prefer just doing Aina to Colwell, but I do love the idea of Van Dijk. So if you're just not convinced by Welbeck and you think Delap could do well, because in all honesty, if Ipswich score, it's very likely to be Delap, and they've got some good fixtures coming up over the next 4. Yeah, do you know what? I'll say that I don't mind it, but I wouldn't do it if it was my team. I would do Aina to Colwell. Mbermo to Palmer done, -4, Bruno to Saka/Wood to Cunha. Yeah, I would do that for a -4, Villa. Start Hall or Ola Aina and start Rodgers or Rao. Oh, that's tough. I would start Ola Aina rather than Lewis Hall. Start Rodgers or Rao. Rodgers, they're both not definitely starting. Rao's on pens, better. I'd probably start Raul Jimenez ahead of Rodgers. Yeah, I'd probably start Raul Jimenez ahead of Rodgers. Just subscribe. Thanks for all the help, brother. You are more than welcome. Will says, Aina and Mbermo to Trent and Matoma/Bowen -4. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, but I could do something similar myself this week, and I'm not. So that tells me that I probably wouldn't, but I guess my defense is a little bit stronger. I'm going to say I don't mind it, Will, but I probably wouldn't again. Do you think Jackson's going to start? Yeah, I'd be surprised if he doesn't. The -4 is Bruno to Salah and Raya to Sanchez to fund the Salah move. Bruno to Salah and Raya to Sanchez. Alternative is keeping Bruno versus Arsenal and Raya versus United before making the move next week. Yeah, I might do that then, KG. I think Sanchez and Sanchez and Salah probably outscores Bruno and Raya by 4 points this week. I would probably get that done, KG, yeah. I think I would. Yeah, just about. I'm not massive on hits, but as I've said, I also think we overemphasize how bad a hit is. Like, you lose 4 points. As long as it's not happening on a regular basis, if it's a set of moves that you think upgrades your team quite a lot, I just get it done. Shawnak with another super chat says, "Hi Ross, hope you get a green arrow." I hope so too, and I hope you get a green arrow as well. I have Henderson, Gabriel, Mazraoui, 8 Nuri, Mbeumo, Saka, Salah, Palmer captain, Cunha, Havertz, João Pedro. Game week 14, Havertz to Eva Nilsson, then Matoma and Trent -4 in game week 15. 0.1 in the bank. I love the idea of getting Trent in from game week 15. I think Eva Nilsson is really good value at the moment. It's a lovely team and a lovely set of planned transfers. I'm looking at something similar to get a Liverpool defender into my team as well. Like Mbeumo to Matoma, and then Rico Lewis to Trent or Van Dijk is something that I'm eyeing up myself. Stormzy, how comes you think Rodgers is going to get benched? I don't actually think he's going to get benched. I just think there's a possibility that it happens. Has FPL Villain done his thread, actually? Let me have a look. There's a Villa account on Twitter that does some really good stuff. Honestly, Rodgers just hasn't been very good, is the real reason. And his minutes continue to be a little bit lower than what you would want. I still think Rodgers starts, though. Okay. He's not done his tweet yet. So FPL Villain said that he thinks Rodgers will start, but he wouldn't be at all surprised if he's benched. He's been replying to people all day with very similar stuff. I think he said to Andy that he thinks there's a chance. Was it this one here? Yeah, he replied to Andy saying, Rodgers being benched wouldn't shock me. He's one of the better accounts for Villa predictions. I'm not scaremongering here. I think Rodgers probably starts, but his minutes are definitely more in doubt than what we've seen at other points, I think. Thanks, brother. Rodgers or McNeil? I'd still start Rodgers there, honestly, Storms. Yeah, I'd start Rodgers ahead of McNeil. I just think Rodgers is a better asset than McNeil. So I would probably risk that Rodgers will start, and I'd go for him. Start João Gomez at mid or Delap up top. I'd start Delap ahead of João Gomez. Yeah, I think he's just a better asset. So you think Brentford is a better match for Luca Dean than Everton is for Ryan Aït-Nouri? My thought process here is I don't think Wolves or Villa keep a clean sheet, but I think Luca Dean plays for the better defence, and he's been, in all honesty, slightly more attacking. I just back Villa more than I back Wolves. So that would be the reason, AKU. But I think it is very close. Sorry, Ross. Which for a -4 would have to start Fernandes? Bruno to Saka. Oh, you're saying one of Bruno to Saka or Wood to Cunha. I see. I understand. I would get Saka in. Sorry, I thought you were saying you can do both of those for a -4. Yeah, I would do Bruno to Saka. Haaland, Bruno, and Mbeumo to Salah, Saka, Pedro for free. Yeah, get that done. Get that done in a heartbeat, George. I like that a lot. Bench Luca Dean or Aina. I have Wissa and Mbeumo, but no City assets currently on 832 points with no free transfers. Very nice, Adam. I would bench Ola Aina and start Luca Dean myself. Jace says, would you oppose captaining Salah over Palmer? Need to gain some ground in mini leagues as I had a few bad weeks. I honestly don't think Salah is going to be the differential captain that you'd imagine. I think a lot of people will still go Salah. I would argue that actually captaining Palmer might be the way to gain. I think a lot... We'll run a captaincy poll in a second, but I would imagine that, especially in like more casual mini leagues, a lot of people just see how Salah's been performing and just captain him. But yeah, if in your mini leagues you know for a fact everyone else is going Palmer, I don't mind going for Salah. Salah will continue to do well pretty much every week. Wood to Jackson for a -4. I need to see who you're... Like, if you're starting Chris Wood, then maybe. But if you've got, like, Rodgers or Semenyo you can start instead, then I probably wouldn't do the -4. Aaron Ford says Fabianski, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Lewis Davis, Palmer, Salah Mbeumo, Saka Pedro, Cunha Isak. And then Onana, Rodgers, Vandenberg, Canate on the bench. 1 free transfer, 1.1 in the bank. Help. Help. I don't think you need help. I'd roll the free transfer. It's honestly a really fine team. I mean, Canate to... You can afford that. Canate to Van Dijk would be an absolutely fine transfer this week to just bolster your defence, and then you can bench Rico Lewis. You've got Salah, you've got Saka, you've got Palmer, You've got a fine front line. I don't think you need to make a transfer this week, Aaron, but if I did, it would be probably Konate to Van Dijk. Captain Haaland or Palmer? I think Palmer is a better captaincy option than Haaland. Right, let's run a captaincy poll because lots of people still asking. Game week 14 captaincy poll. I will put Palmer against Southampton away. We'll go Salah against Newcastle away. Then I think it probably is still Haaland as the third most popular. What do you think about Trent? I love Trent as an option. If you can afford Trent this week, get him in. His minutes will be good. The fixtures are going to really improve from sort of game week 15, 16 onwards. And Liverpool have been the best defence in the league this season. So yeah, I like it a lot. Right, chat, there is a captaincy poll now in the chat. Make sure that you vote on the captaincy poll so that we can see who the most popular option is. Yeah, for the person that asked, I am pretty sure that I'm going to captain... I'm pretty sure I'm going to captain Cole Palmer, yeah. I'm like 98% sure. There's always a small chance that I decide to change, but yeah. I'm feeling pretty happy sat here right now with Palmer captain. Isak to Jackson for free. It comes down to your own risk appetite, how much you think Jackson will outscore Isak this week. Because like from 15 to 17, Isak's got Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich. I would prefer to have Isak to Jackson for 15 to 17. So I am happy to try and limit the damage this week. If Jackson outscores Isak by like 5 to 8 points this week, I can take that. Like if Isak blanks and Jackson gets 9 points, I can take it. If Isak blanks and Jackson gets 13, that's a bit painful. If it's much beyond that, then I've made a mistake. Because I do think that Isak will make up points from 15 to 17 on Jackson. That being said, I think from 18 and beyond, Jackson is probably a better pick than Isak once again. So it comes down to your own team and what you want to do. Like I personally am happy holding Isak. Also, I think it comes down to like what assets you like owning. Like Isak's my boy. Last season I owned Isak. I bought him in game week 31 when he was about 3% owned. And he got me like 5 goals in 3 game weeks. And then he became one of the most highly owned assets in the game for the back end of the season. But I jumped on him very, very early. So like, I like owning Isak. Isak's a player that I enjoy watching. He's a player that I enjoy having in my team. So for that reason, I've still got him. Are you rolling the transfer, Ross? As of right now, yeah, I'm planning on rolling the transfer. I also, again, is another reason to not do Isak to Jackson. It's just very valuable having 2+ free transfers because it gives you flexibility. It might be that actually I decide to sell Isak this weekend. Let's say that he's out injured long term or he picks up another injury. I might sell Isak, but rather than going for Jackson, I might do something like Isak to Eva Nilsson, which funds for me Rico Lewis to Trent. I just think I like that flexibility of having 2 free transfers. It might give me the ability to do more with my team. Fuel Your Grind says, welcome back. Start 2 of Jackson and Burmo Semenyo. I'd probably bench Semenyo from those options. You're definitely not benching Jackson, right? So it's in Burmo or Semenyo. I'd start the penalty taker. Pirate Paul says, hey Raptor, tuning in from sunny Florida. Bigger love. I've actually still never been to the US, by the way, so that's something that needs to happen. Verbruggen or Fabianski? So Brighton the better defence. I would probably start Fabianski because I think he's got a slightly greater chance for a clean sheet, in my opinion, and I think he'll make a lot of saves regardless. I think Verbruggen could keep a clean sheet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 6-pointer. Fulham aren't the best attack. That's a tough one. I'd start Fabianski ahead of Verbruggen. Thanks for all the helpful content and good luck. Thank you very much, AKU. I appreciate the super chats and the kind words. Start Wood or Wisser? I'd start Wisser ahead of Wood. How long have we got? An hour. So we've got an hour till the deadline. Still plenty of time. Flecken or Verbruggen? In that case, I'd start Verbruggen ahead of Flecken, I think. Although Flecken does make a lot of saves. Haaland and Rodgers for Saka and Jackson. Yeah, I'd get that done. If it's for free. If it's for a hit, I mean, I'd still get it done. Stefan says, I'm just going to leave it there. I really want to play Semenyo. I just have a feeling. Should I bench in Burmo, João Pedro, or Solanke, or just bench Semenyo? Any thoughts? If you've got a feeling, absolutely 100% start Semenyo. Do not bench Semenyo if you've got a feeling he does well. Like, you've got to trust your gut feeling in these decisions. So I would play Semenyo in that case. Honestly, out of the other three, I'd be tempted to bench João Pedro. The thing is, with Solanke's illness, are we confident that he definitely starts? If you've got a feeling about Semenyo, maybe you just back Bournemouth in that game and you bench Solanke. Like, Solanke's not on penalties, it'll be Son. I would probably say Solanke if you want to start Semenyo, Stefan. Rodgers or Wood? I'd probably start Rodgers ahead of Wood, I think. Yanis says, start Lewis, Aina or Greaves, and who for first bench? I would start Rico Lewis, Greaves first bench, and Aina second. Here for FPL has been a member for 7 months. Thank you very much. Best goalkeepers to replace Flecken. I still think it's Verbruggen and Sanchez. I'd probably go Verbruggen. Can we start a narrative about Palmer only hauling every 4 games or so and he hauled last week? If he blanks against Southampton, yes, we can start that narrative. I'm not starting the narrative this week, though. Is this the final team, Rossi boy? It's just benching decisions, right? I kind of do want to start Rico Lewis and I do want to start Rodgers, but you can't start everyone, obviously. So for me, I don't think I'm going to make a transfer. I think I'm going to roll. So it's just benching decisions. Is the Tottenham match postponed? Wait, what? I don't think so. It's the first I've heard about it. Just opening up Twitter to see. Can't see anything. No. Where's that come from? Don't know. Bench one of Rodgers, Johnson, Cunha, Pedro, and Isak. Rodgers or Johnson? I'd probably bench Rodgers and start Johnson. So yeah, I'd bench Rodgers out of those options. Honestly, with benching decisions, if you've got a bit of a gut feeling either way, ignore this big bald egg and just trust yourself. Benching decisions are so difficult to get right that you might as well trust your gut feeling. There's a lot of research into gut feeling in psychology, and I'm not going to do a whole psychology lecture here. But basically, the major benefit of trusting your gut feeling is that it is emotionally better for you. There's nothing worse than going against your gut feeling and then getting it wrong, because then you have a lot of resentment and frustration. So the best thing about trusting your gut feeling is that you're more likely to accept it if it doesn't go the way that you want. Like, let's say your gut feeling is to start Rodgers, but I tell you to bench him, so you bench him. If Rodgers then hauls, you're going to be very angry and resentful of me and of yourself. Whereas if your gut feeling says start Rodgers and he blanks, you'd say, oh, at least I trusted myself. So yeah, I really think for benching decisions, you should trust your gut feeling. Storms makes me laugh. That's funny. Right, where was I? I want to sell Mbeumo, who I bought for 7.5 million, and he's now 7.8 million. How come I'm not getting the additional 0.1 profit due to his price rise? Should we do a lesson in price rises? We'll do that. Hey Ross, best defender suggestions, 5 million for 14 to 18. I would say Colwill, Van Hecke, or Joe Gomez would be my top 3 at that price. So with price changes, basically the short of it is for every 0.2 million that a player rises in price when you own them, you will gain 0.1 million. So you gain 0.1 million for every 0.2 a player goes up. So what you can actually do is go to transfers on the site, and then if you click this list button, so rather than pitch view list, you can see the current price of the player, which is this first column. You can then see the selling price, which is how much you can sell them for, and the purchase price. So a good example is Sanchez. I bought Sanchez for 4.7 million. He's now 4.8. So because Sanchez has only risen 0.1 since I bought him, I can't sell him for profit. I can still only sell him for 4.7. A good example is, here we go, Gabriel. So I bought Gabriel for 6 million. Gabriel is now 6.2 million, which means I can sell him for 6.1. I want to give a really good example. Here's another one. So 8 Nuri I bought for 4.4. He's now 4.9. He's risen 0.5 million since I bought him. But because that is an odd number, I can only sell him for 0.2 million profit. right? I would need him to rise once more to be able to sell him for 0.3 million profit. Hopefully that makes sense. So back to your example there. You bought Mbermo at 7.5 and he's now 7.8. He's only got up 0.3, so you only gain 0.1. But you can see your purchase price, current price, and selling price if you just go to transfers and then list. I know a lot of people know that already, but I feel like also a lot of people don't, and it's just an assumption that you just know that. But unless someone tells you that, it's very difficult, I think, to try and work out the first time. Hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully that made sense. Strand Larsen or Cunha? Cunha is still a much better option than Strand Larsen. My gut last week said Captain Cunha against the myriad of much better options. I'll be honest, that was just terrible gut feeling. My gut feeling this week says to Captain Jackson, I need to learn not to trust my gut. No, I would just say that you have to combine gut feeling with a bit of logic and common sense as well. Cunha was just a bad captaincy option last week. I'll stick with that. Bournemouth are a really good defence in comparison to some others. Wolves were never going to dominate that game. Wolves weren't putting up very high XG. Cunha's data isn't as good as some other players. I don't think there were many reasons to captain Cunha last week, but Jackson this week is a very good captaincy option. I like a Jackson captaincy punt, I do. San says, hi Ross, hope you're well. Thank you very much. I hope you're well too. My team is 8 Nuri, Anderson, Mikalenko, 2 4.0s, Salah, Saka, Palmer, Semenyo, Rogers, Haaland, Wissa, João Pedro. Would you transfer Wissa, Semenyo, Anderson to Cunha, 4.4 midfielder and 4.4 defender? Firstly, it's crazy that you fit all of those premiums in. No, I wouldn't do those transfers in a million years. In fact, I prefer Wissa, Semenyo, Anderson to Cunha 4.4 and 4.4. I prefer your current setup. I think Anderson's great to own. So no, I would probably leave it as is. But I think you need to sell one of your 4 premiums because that team is a little bit imbalanced. Like that bench is way too weak. Your defense is way too weak. So I would probably sell Haaland, in all honesty. That would be what I would do to just spread the funds a little bit. Because like I say, like you're starting the likes of Semenyo, Rogers, Wissa every week. Your defense has got no money in it. But if you want to hold on to this structure for a bit longer, you absolutely can as well. Got just over 50 minutes till the deadline. Start thinking about getting those transfers locked in. And also keep asking your questions as well. And I'll obviously answer as many of them as I can. King of Mandalore says 2 free transfers. Canate / Mbermo to Trent / Semenyo and bench Colwill. Canate and Mbermo to Trent, Semenyo and bench Colwill. Isak to Jackson and do the former move in game week 15. Or roll and play Colwill and do the first move in game week 15. I think the latter. I think roll and play Colwill. Colwill's got a really good fixture this week. I see no reason really to force the moves this week just to bench Colwill, especially as Trent's got Newcastle and Semenyo's got Spurs. So yeah, I would roll, play Colwill and do the first option in game week 15. Bruno to Bowen. Or Aina to Gabriel / Estepinian or roll. I would do Aina to Gabriel. If you've not got Gabriel, get Gabriel in ASAP. Differential, either Darwin or Mateta. I would say neither, but I prefer Mateta to Darwin. But I would say neither. I don't really like either of those as options. Thoughts on Enzo as a differential? If he continues starting, great, but it is a midweek game for Chelsea, followed up by another game after that. Like, is Enzo going to start both of the next 2? I'm less convinced. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't go for Enzo. I think Buonanotte is still the best cheap midfielder. FPL Instinctive has benched João Pedro in his FPL team, by the way. Has he? Do we bench João Pedro? I mean, Fulham aren't a bad defence. It's just because I've just brought him in, right? It does feel weird benching a player that I've just brought in. But that probably shouldn't affect my decision. I feel like I should just judge it on its current merit. And I don't know. I'm still a bit unsure about captains. Sorry about my benching decision. Hi, Ross. 2 free transfers. Aina and Mbermo to Gomez and Erdegaard. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. I don't have any issue with that, yeah. I probably wouldn't do Mbermo to Erdegaard this week. I'd probably do Aina to Gomez, and then maybe do Mbermo to Erdegaard next week if we don't like what we see from Mbermo against Aston Villa. That's probably the way I would do it, because I don't think it's like that much of a standout fixture for Martin Erdegaard, personally. Luke says, Ross, I have the same team like you, just Colwell instead of Davis and Verbruggen instead of Sanchez. 3 free transfers and 0.5 in the bank. Should I just roll? Yeah, I mean, if you've got the same team as me, I'd probably roll. The other option you've got is you could do with free transfers, like downgrade Mbermo and upgrade Rico Lewis to Trent. Like that would be tempting to me if you can afford it. Like Mbermo to Semenyo, if that gives you the funds, which I think it should, if my maths is correct, to do Lewis to Trent, that would be a set of moves that would interest me. But outside that, Luke, yeah, you could just roll. Darren says, hi, Ross. Play Fabianski or Pickford. Get well soon. Thank you very much. Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I would start Pickford. I think he's got a greater chance for a clean sheet. Trina said, what are your thoughts on Onana this week and going forwards? And would you buy any Manchester United players? I think Onana's fine to hold. I don't expect a clean sheet this week because he's playing against an Arsenal team that are performing brilliantly at the moment. So I think Onana's an absolutely fine hold. I wouldn't be buying Onana in a million years, though. I don't think Manchester United are a defence you can rely upon. I don't think there's good fixtures over the next 3 for him. But I just don't ever feel like goalkeeper transfers are massively worth it. One sec, chat. I'm just going to strip off, getting a little bit toasty. Much better. Wissa to Jackson. If it's for free, I don't mind it, to be honest. I think Jackson's a better hold than Wissa long term. This week, I'm not necessarily that... No, actually this week. Yeah, I would do the move. In what scenario would you not take a hit for bringing in Gomez today? The only reason I would take a hit to bring in Gomez is if you've literally not got 3 defenders that are fit. Otherwise, I'd probably just do it for free next week. Because, again, it's not like Gomez has a great fixture. I think Newcastle score, hence why I've started Alexander Isak, right? Stripping off, this is not the type of stream I first tuned into. This is always the way it goes. Yeah, people keep mentioning that if FPL Instinctive has not started João Pedro. Let's take a look at that. If you don't know who FPL Instinctive is, by the way, he's a Brighton fan. I'm not starting João Pedro due to the swing on 100% market odds. Rodgers' odds of scoring a goal are drifting and João Pedro's shortening, but the markets don't love João Pedro this week. I'm a bit confused by that tweet. Yeah, okay, it's not just me that's confused by the tweet. Does he know something that we don't know? I don't want to bench João Pedro just off the back of one Brighton fan benching João Pedro, but I've got a bit of a benching dilemma. I also think Fulham are a good defence, aren't they? I don't know what to make of that. Think you're reading into it too much? Maybe. But I also don't think João Pedro is a perfect option this week, so there is some temptation. Sky Sports say Isak is a major doubt. Yeah, that's because that's what Eddie Howe said in his press conference. Eddie Howe's a liar, though. Eddie Howe is a liar, isn't he? It's just FPL Review telling him to start Rodgers and bench JP. EV is EV. Yeah, but FPL Review, you have to adjust the expected minutes. So that tells me that he's really lowered João Pedro's expected minutes. Isak to Jackson or Mbermo to Bowen or roll the free transfer. I prefer Isak to Jackson than Mbermo to Bowen, but I would probably just roll. Like, I can make either of those moves, and I'm not going to. Here for FPL says, Gvardiol and Wood to Colwell and Jackson -4. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I like that as a set of transfers. I'd be happy to make those moves. Play Rodgers or Semenyo and Fabianski or Martinez. Well, Martinez is, I think, like fractured something, hasn't he? I I still think I'd play Fabianski anyway. I'd probably play Semenyo and Fabianski. So I'd bench you two Aston Villa players. Yash says, hey man, big fan of you. I've got in Burma and Rodgers, but can only play one. Who would you pick? Firstly, thank you very much. I would start in Burma ahead of Rodgers. As I'm doing myself. Right? He's on penalties. His minutes are better. And I think Brentford could score goals in this game. So yeah, I've gone for Mbeumo myself. Hi Ross, Delap to Jackson. If it's for free, I don't mind it. But I also do think Delap's a fine hold for the next few weeks. I need to click my back, but it's a bit gross, isn't it? That was definitely loud enough to hear in the microphone. Crazy stuff. Grotesque. Why Ryan Nuri instead of Lewis? Slightly more attacking. Slightly better fixture, and more nailed on to start. But yeah, I think Rico Lewis, I would like to get into my starting 11. I guess I'm just assuming or hoping that Rico Lewis could be on the bench. Christ, that sounded like a snapping poppadom. Yeah, I know that hurt. My back is a mess. I've got really bad back issues, sadly. It's because I'm sat at my desk all day. It doesn't help. What do you think about captaining Jackson? I don't mind it. I would always prefer Palmer over Jackson, but I don't mind it. Bench one of Isak and Mbeumo or Semenyo. I'd probably bench Semenyo from those options. Maybe Isak. Monday's FPL therapy. Love Chew and Pickle. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And big love to you as well. Who to choose, Emerson or Wan-Bissaka? I prefer Emerson. I think he's got more attacking threat usually. Bench Semenyo, Strand Larson or Rodgers? I'd probably bench Strand Larson from those three options. Oh, I don't know who to bench myself. Ross, your rose-tinted glasses for Davis always makes me chuckle. Listen, FPL is a game of having fun. Everyone has very similar teams at the moment. If I can't at least start Leif Davis, what can I do? You know? Absolute legend. I love him. I do. I love him. And also, by the way, let me just show you how good Leif Davis is. Let's take someone like Morgan Rogers. Morgan Rogers' XGI against Chelsea was 0. 0.23, 0.22. So in his last three games, 0.22, 0.23, 0. Look at Leif Davis balling out. 0.37, 0.29, 0.19. I mean, consistently every week. Look at his data. 0.31, 0.32, 0.23, 0.34, 0.52. Leif Davis's lowest XGI of the season, let's say since game week 5, not as attacking in the first 4, was 0.19. That's his lowest XGI of the season in a game. I mean, he's remarkable. He's more attacking than like most of our like cheap midfielders. It's insane numbers. You've got to love Leif Davis. Do you know what? Whilst we're on the Leif Davis propaganda hype, by the way, if you want to get access to FPL stats, there is a link down below in the description for 30% off and a 30-day free trial over at Fantasy Football Hub. If we sort by defenders and then go per 90, and let's start with big chances created. No, actually, let's just go total. Big chances created. Leif Davis, top of the list for big chances created. You want to go key passes. Leif Davis, top of the list for key passes. You want to go expected assist. Not quite top, but second on the list after Trent Alexander-Arnold. Leif Davis is a certified baller. He's created the most chances in the league out of all defenders, the most big chances, the most key passes. He is wonderful, and I won't have any Leif Davis. My computer just completely broke down then. I won't have any Leif Davis slander. Okay? And there's that. Okay, my computer's recovered from that little moment, that momentary blip. Seeing those tables makes me want to bring in Trent over Van Dijk. Yeah, Trent's elite. He really is. Right, where was I? Bench one of Cunha, João Pedro, Semenyo or Smith Rowe. I'd probably bench Smith Rowe from those options. Timber or Raya for Flecken or Ryan Nuri. I think Flecken's more of an issue than Ryan 8. So I prefer Timber to Raya, but I prefer selling Flecken to 8 Nuri. So I would probably go Flecken to Raya in that position. MN Chuckster says, hi, Ego. Captain João Pedro last week, so that was fun to watch. That's painful. Hopefully got the team sorted for this week. So just want to thank you for all of the content and wish you and Pickle a great game week. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. That's very, very sweet of you. And hopefully your captain does slightly better this week. I don't know where Pickle is. She finished uni a while ago now, but she's still not here. Who knows? Not here, because she's at in Birmingham. But I'm sure she'll have a much better week than me, as she always seems to. Khan says, bench 2 of 8 Nuri, Porro, Gabriel, Davis, and Burmo, Rogers, Cunha, Jackson, João Pedro. I would bench... I'd probably bench Leaf Davis and Ryan 8 Nuri from those options. You've got to start all of your attackers. Also, how long do you think Porro can be retained? I think you can keep him indefinitely. The issue with Pedro Porro isn't, for me, an issue with Pedro Porro. It's that I think Arsenal and Liverpool defence are absolutely elite at the moment. So I think in an ideal world, your premium defenders belong to Arsenal and Liverpool. Like, if I was going to pick 3 premiums right now, it'd probably be like Gabriel, Timber, and Trent. So that is the issue with Porro, is that I prefer those other options. We'll plan to sell Mbermo also next and get Matoma / Semenyo and Trent / Timber for these 2. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, I like the idea of getting Liverpool and Arsenal defenders in. That would be a priority for me, definitely. Love your content, Rost. What time do today's price changes come into effect? Deadline or midnight? It's 1:30 a.m. GMT. It's always the same time. Early hours of the morning in UK time. I think. Right? 2:30 a.m. BST, 1:30 a.m. GMT. And it's always the same time. What's your rationale behind Mbermo over Rogers? Can decide which one to play. I assume you mean can't decide. Mbermo's got better minutes and he's on penalties. Data-wise, they're very, very similar. I'll always play the player with penalties and minutes if the data is relatively similar. I also find that game very difficult to predict, in all honesty. So, how come you're playing Isak over Rogers? Isn't he questionable? Yes, but I just think Isak's a better asset than Rogers. So I'm going to hope that Isak starts, and yeah, fingers crossed that's correct. Regan says, made 2 free transfers on a -4 on Sunday to beat the price changes. Greaves, Solanke, and Son out. And Trent, Saka, and João Pedro in. Thoughts on it? It's a beautiful set of 3 transfers. I've got absolutely no issue with that at all. Bench 3 of Smith Rowe, Rogers, Konsa, Davis, João Pedro, and Mbermo. I would bench Smith Rowe. No. Oh, I mean, if you can bench 2 defenders, bench Konsa and Davis. I'd always start attackers over... There are very few situations where I think you can justify playing a 4 at the back. Sammy says, my team is Flecken, Gabriel, 8 Nuri, Luca Dean, Salah, Palmer, Brian Mbermo, Semenyo, Rogers, Pedro, Welbeck, and Erling Haaland. 1 free transfer, 0.2. Should I sell Erling? So you've got no Saka. Outside of that, your team's fine. I mean, I would be very tempted to do that next week if Haaland struggles once again, because I'm not necessarily sure that Saka is a massive upgrade on Haaland this week. And outside of that, you've got João Pedro already, right? You've got the likes of Semenyo, who I think is fine this week. I guess it depends how well you think Jackson can do and how much you want to take a hit. Because obviously doing something like Mbermo and Haaland to Jackson and Saka feels like an upgrade, but because it's for a hit, I probably wouldn't. So I would say no, Sammy. If that was my team, I'd probably do it next week for free. I'm stuck between Pedro and Raul. Who would you play? I'd probably play João Pedro ahead of Raul Jimenez, I think. Wood or Semenyo? I'd play Semenyo. I transferred Matoma in last night and just noticed he is yellow flagged. Yeah, apparently he picked up a knock at the end of the last game and they're assessing him. I think Matoma starts, but a lot of people are less convinced. So it sounds like he is a slight doubt, sadly, which I didn't see anything on this until today. So today was the first moment. Actually, was it late last night? I think it was late last night. I saw a tweet which suggested that he picked up a knock. Haaland and Dibbling to Saka and Jackson. I mean, if it's for free, then yeah, obviously. That's a definite set of upgrades. If it's for a hit, maybe less keen. Do you think there's any chance of an Ipswich leak? Probably not. I don't know how many Ipswich in the no accounts we have. Bench one of Rodgers, Mbeumo, Cunha, João Pedro. I'd bench Rodgers or João Pedro, I think, from those two. Start three of Ryan 8, Nuri, Lewis, Greaves, Gabriel, Mikalenko. I'd start Gabriel, 8, Nuri, and Mikalenko from those three. Hamad? Is it too late to sell Haaland? No? Is there any news on Rico Lewis? I don't know what news you're looking for. In terms of him starting, we're never going to get news that early. I mean, they don't even... City don't play tonight, do they? They play on Wednesday, I think. I need to remind myself who plays on what days. Yeah, City play Wednesday. So we're not going to get news on who starts for City anytime soon. Jackson to Haaland for free. I assume you mean Haaland to Jackson for free. I wouldn't do it just for the sake of doing it. I'd be happy having Haaland this week. But if it also funds getting Saka in, then yeah. Just a straight shootout between the two. I'd arguably rather have Haaland. He's just a better asset than Jackson. Regardless of what we've seen in the last few weeks, I'd always rather have Haaland than Jackson. Fernandes or Rodgers this week? Believe it or not, I'd start Fernandes ahead of Rodgers this week. ChatGPT said I should bench João Pedro over Mbeumo. What do you think? I would agree with ChatGPT. I would start Mbeumo ahead of João Pedro. His minutes are better. Also on penalties. His data's not quite as strong, but Mbeumo is Mbeumo, right? We have to remember that he is still a very good asset. I mean, only as 5 or 6 game weeks ago, we were saying he's like one of the best assets to own in FPL. He's had a few rough games in a row, but Mbeumo's still a very, very good shout. Why Mbeumo over Rodgers? 90 minutes on penalties. Rodgers is probably 65 minutes, not on penalties. And before everyone says they probably won't get a penalty, absolutely, it's more likely than not that there won't be a penalty in that game. But we saw last week that penalties can make assets really good all of a sudden, right? Right? Chris Wood didn't have a single shot from open play against Ipswich, and then he goes and grabs himself a penalty in 9 points. Flecken or Fabianski to start? I'd start Fabianski, much better fixture this week. And I think both of them make saves. Hi Ross, what do you think of changing Wissa for Jackson? If it's for free, I have absolutely no issue. If it's for a hit, I wouldn't do it. Have to play Vandenberg and Aina. Is it worth a -4 to get Gabriel? Yes. Absolutely. Not sure if my super chat went through last time, but I wanted to ask you what you think about Onana going forwards. I've already answered that one, Trina. Yeah, I've already answered that. I said that I think Onana is fine if you've already got him. I would be happy to hold him, but I would not in a million years be buying Onana. That just wouldn't happen. I mean, there are so many better keepers than Onana, but if I had him, I'd probably just hold him. And Man United in general, I wouldn't be buying for the next 3. Again, if you've got United assets already, you can hold them through the next 3 fixtures, but otherwise, we just reassess in 3 weeks, I think. FPL Pickle finally here. FPL Pickle's been home for over about an hour and a half and just decided not to join the stream. That's okay. I'm not offended. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Thank you, Pickle. How are you? She messaged me saying, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be home in time for your stream. I'm so happy." And she's like, "Psych, I'm gonna miss most of it." Who would you play, 8 Nuri or Emerson? I would probably play Emerson, you know. Screw it. Bit of fun. That free kick was beautiful, by the way. Hi, Ross. After getting rid of Haaland last week, I used my 1 free transfer to go in Mbeumo to Saka, but still have money in the bank. Would you take a -4 for Wissa to Jackson? I wouldn't take a -4, no. I like that transfer, by the way, to get Saka in. WTF, I messaged like 4 times. I know, but I thought you'd have the stream on in the background. It's all okay. It's all okay. Solanke and Mbeumo to João Pedro and Saka for free. Solanke and Mbeumo to João Pedro and Saka for free. That's a very tough one. Yes. Yes. Heard anything on Pedro not starting? I've seen rumours. So this all originated from FPL Instinctive said that João Pedro wasn't seen in training today, but that can be for a number of reasons. And then FPL Instinctive, who again is a Brighton fan if you're new to FPL, he has then not started João Pedro in his team. So I think combined with the fact that he wasn't seen in training, and then this guy who follows Brighton very carefully has then just decided to bench João Pedro, it raises some questions and concerns. Obviously, João Pedro's just back from injury as well. The stuff in favour of João Pedro is that he doesn't play Fulham until Thursday. So there's quite a long turnaround between Game Week 13 and 14. I think João Pedro still starts, but yeah, there might be some concern there. Also, Fulham aren't at bad defence, by the way. I don't expect Brighton to score many goals here, so I've got no issue with benching João Pedro this week if you've got him. Like, there are some very difficult benching decisions, but yeah, that's where it's originated from, is that apparently he wasn't pictured in training today. But by the way, we see this a lot where players aren't pictured in training, and then there's some sort of good reason for it. So, yeah. Oh, my computer just froze. Okay, we're back. Hello. Hello, bud. Good to see you, Jay. Bowen ahead of Rodgers, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Can you please help me pick 3 out of Gvardiol, Gabriel, 8 Nuri, and Leaf Davis? Davis is currently on my bench. Yeah, I think you've nailed that. I would start Gvardiol, Gabriel, and 8 Nuri ahead of Leaf Davis. I think you've got that spot on. I've got no issue with that. Abdul Gadir says, Mbermo, Foden, Isak out for Pedro, Saka, Bowen. Mbermo, Foden, Isak. Okay, for Pedro, Saka, Bowen. I mean, on paper, Pedro, Saka, Bowen's better. Still probably 4 points better. When you're taking out Mbermo and Isak, who are 2 penalty takers that are good traditionally, Foden, who I would imagine starts in a home game, I would still probably do it, but it does feel like something that could backfire. You'd feel guilty for saying that if you saw the messages I put in the chat like 45 minutes ago. Oh, yeah, I just missed him. I must have just missed him. That's okay. I'm only winding you up anyway, Pickle. Davis, Wood, Rodgers, start 1. Also benching order. Davis, Wood, Rodgers, start 1. Rodgers. Then Wood, then Davis. I think you always favour your attackers over your defenders. I told you looked handsome. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. I didn't see those messages at all. I'll let you off on this occasion then. Gabriel, what about him? I really want Trent. I've got a little bit of a desire for Trent in my team. I get this sometimes. I do love Trent Alexander-Arnold. Well, he says, JP, Cunha, Rodgers, and Mbermo, Smith Rowe. Bench 1, please. I'd probably bench Smith Rowe from those options. Vandenberg or Timber? I mean, it's not even a question. You're in Timber 20 times out of 20. What was that laugh? It was a cheeky little laugh. Cheeky. Is Rico Lewis starting? I will predict yes, but I don't know that it's not like dead cert or anything like that. It's enough to put me off starting him myself. Who takes penalties for Ipswich? I actually don't know. I'd assume Delap. Or is it Hutchinson? Any Ipswich fans in the chat? Is it Hutchinson or Delap on pens? Or is it someone else? Probably Delap, right? You'd imagine. I'm starting Rico Lewis. Best of luck. I wish I could start him. I'd like to start Rico Lewis. I would. I just don't think I can justify starting him instead of 8 Nuri or Leaf Davis. Scenes when Leaf Davis steps... I'm sorry, can you imagine Ipswich being given a penalty and Leaf Davis steps up? I don't even want to talk about what would happen if that happened. I don't even want to talk about it. By the way, with his ball striking ability, Leaf Davis should be on penalties. Let's just say that. Schmodix. Yeah, Schmodix could take it, absolutely. Morsey. Yeah, maybe Morsey takes it. I don't know. I considered Colwell, but I think having 2 free transfers may be more valuable. I think you're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, most people seem to think it's Delap on penalties. I would agree. You'd explode. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Jackson, Watkins, or Cunha? To bring in this week, I'd probably go Jackson. Wissa or Pedro, Jackson or Roll. So Wissa or Pedro to Jackson or Roll. I wouldn't sell João Pedro for Jackson, so it's Wissa. It's probably Wissa to Jackson or Roll. I would probably do Wissa to Jackson if you can do it for free. George Hurst is on penalties if he plays. Okay, that's good to know. But Hurst isn't always on the pitch, is he? So, do I start Fabianski or Raya? I'd start Raya ahead of Fabianski. Triple captain Cole Palmer. I said that I would be put off triple captain Cole Palmer personally, and the only reason for that is it's midweek, and I think there's a chance of an early sub. If this was a weekend game, I would be very happy triple captaining Cole Palmer. That's the only thing putting me off, is that there are some doubts around how many minutes he gets. Bro, who do I bench? Lewis or Mazraoui? You definitely bench Mazraoui. He's playing against Arsenal away. You start Rico Lewis. Liz Clark says, thanks for the content, Ross. You're welcome, Liz. Appreciate the work you put in every week. I appreciate that as well. Nice to be able to watch the stream at a reasonable hour here in Vancouver. Yeah, the Canadians are loving it. I know there are a few different... I can't remember what the time zones are, but yeah, I know every time I do an evening stream, there are always Canadians that absolutely love... Or people that at least live in Canada. They love the evening streams. I'd hate to live in a country where I have to wake up at like 3 a.m. to watch football. Like, I do feel sorry for people that have to do that, but it's the price you pay, I guess, for being into the Premier League. Sells or Fabianski? Fabianski, definitely. Start Aina or Mikalenko? Mikalenko. Bro, I think you're underestimating Chris Wood way too much. His fixtures aren't that bad and on pens. Yeah, you're probably right. But I just think there are better options to go for, personally. You missed my super chat. Let me check. I probably did. Wouldn't put it past myself. I've got like a blocked nose. I don't know why. Maybe I'm getting ill. Semenyo, Wissa, Pedro. Bench one, please. I wouldn't bench João Pedro from those three because he's on pens. It'd be Wissa or Semenyo. I'd probably bench Wissa if I had to bench one there, I think. Probably. FPL Hey Hey says, bench one, Havertz, Bruno or Pedro. Free transfer Havertz to Jackson. I'd probably keep Havertz. Who would I bench from those three? Although I'd bench Havertz. I'd probably keep and... No, would I... I don't think I'd bench Havertz, but he's not on pens. Out of those three, I'd be tempted to bench João Pedro. Definitely, obviously, if you buy Jackson, then you bench João Pedro, I think, from those three. Tony M says, hey, Ross, what are your thoughts on Haaland and Mbeumo/Rodgers to Jackson and Saka -4? Would you sell Mbeumo or Rodgers? Haaland and Mbeumo/Rodgers to Jackson and Saka. For free, I would do that. Would I do that for a hit? I probably wouldn't do it for a hit. And if you were to sell one of them, I'd probably sell Rodgers, honestly. I'm not convinced by Rodgers at the moment right now. I probably wouldn't do that for a hit, Tony, but I can understand the desire to do so. If you're going to start one of Rodgers and Mbeumo, I'd start Mbeumo. Isak in or out? It depends on your own team. Like I'm going to keep Isak. If Isak doesn't play, honestly, I don't care because I've got Rodgers on the bench, who I'd really like to start, in all honesty. Like, I am still tempted to start Rodgers myself, but I've just got a bit of a feeling about Alexander. By the way, captaincy poll, over 5,000 votes already. 75% of you are captaining Palmer, 15% Salah, 8% Haaland, and 3% other. So basically, most people are captaining Palmer, and if they're not captaining Palmer, they're captaining Salah. And then there's a few people on Haaland and other people. It definitely looks like Palmer will be the most popular captaincy option this week. Start Wood or Semenyo? I'd start Semenyo. Keep Isak and or Solanke, ? Possible replacements. I would keep both of them. If not, it's just Jackson. Like I'd be pretty happy doing either of them to Jackson this week. I'd probably rather keep Isak and sell Solanke. So Solanke to Jackson is a possibility. Also, obviously, Cunha and João Pedro are great, cheaper options as well. If you need to free up some funds. Like, if you need to upgrade your bench or your defence, then that's an option there. Tyler asks, would you... Sorry about the sniffling, by the way. I don't know why my nose is blocked all of a sudden. Would you sell one of Solanke, Wood, or Wissa for Cunha? Would I sell Solanke, Wood, or Wissa for Cunha? I'd be tempted to sell Wood for Cunha. I wouldn't sell Wissa for Cunha right now. Solanke for Cunha doesn't feel awful. Yeah, I'd be tempted if you've got free transfers. Like, if you've only got one free transfer, I don't know if I wouldn't be desperate to buy Cunha for Everton away. So I feel like that's a move that I would be happy making if I had multiple free transfers. But I wouldn't sell Wisser. I'd probably rather sell Wood or Solanke. Brian says, Ahmad, Rashford, Palmer, Saka. Sell Rashford for Luis Diaz. I wouldn't be that desperate to go and buy Luis Diaz, no. I would be tempted to sell one of Rashford or Ahmad. I think like it's a bit overkill having two Manchester United midfielders, but I don't know that Luis Diaz would be top of my list. Although if his minutes continue to be good, he could be an okay shout. Rodgers or Semenyo, and start two out of Luca Dean, Lewis, Robinson. I'd start Luca Dean and Robinson, and I'd bench Rico Lewis. I think Rico Lewis, if he starts, is better than most of my defenders this week. Like, if I knew that Rico Lewis was going to start, I'd start him. But I feel like if you've got other nailed options, just start them instead. Because what you don't want is a 1-point cameo. For what it's worth, I think Rico Lewis will start. But we just don't know that, right? That's always the slight concern with him. Porro, Dunk, or Lewis to start? Definitely Pedro Porro. Pedro Porro for sure. Yeah, got to be Pedro Porro. Rodgers, Semenyo, Wood. Bench one. Rodgers, Semenyo, Wood. I'd bench Wood, and I'd start Rodgers and Semenyo. Palmer or Haaland captain? I prefer Palmer captain. And no, I wouldn't triple captain Palmer. Just simply, again, it's a midweek game, and therefore I think his minutes will be slightly lower. Start Fabianski or Pickford? I'd start Pickford because I think Everton have a greater chance for a clean sheet. However, if you've got like double Wolves and you want to put all of your eggs in one basket, then maybe start Fabianski instead, you know, because otherwise you're sort of trying to back a Fabianski clean sheet and your Wolves assets to do well. If you had to put a price on generally how much money in the bank would make it viable to take a hit, how much would it be? I don't really get the question. Are you asking how much money I would want for 4 points? Like how much extra money you would give me? Is that what you're asking? Or how much in the bank? Because in the bank doesn't make sense because you'd have to sell players to get money in the bank. Let me know what you mean. If you're asking how much money would I like for 4 points, it's probably like 0.1 or 2. It's not a lot. 4 points is 4 points, right? 0.2 million? Something like that? 0.1 million? It's difficult to decide though, really. Vardy will score a hat-trick. Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised. I still feel like it's still a good fixture for West Ham, though. Regardless of the new manager bounce. Regardless of anything, it's still not awful. Going into a game week, how much would be too much to have in the bank? Oh, well, there's no such thing. It depends on what you can do with that money. Like, if one of the things you can do with that money is getting Saka, Palmer, or Salah, then it's worth the hit. If one of the things you could do with that money is doing, like, Jackson in for Strand Larsen or something like that, then it might be worth a hit as well. It's less so to do with the money in the bank and more so to do with, like, what is the transfer that you can make with that money. George says, hope you're well, Ross. Erdegaard or Bowen in for Mbermo? Erdegaard or Bowen in for Mbermo? I actually really like Erdegaard the more I think about it. I'm a big fan of Erdegaard in for Mbermo. You know, I'm very tempted myself to do that. Not this week, but maybe going into 15 or 16. But then at the same time, I also think having a Liverpool defender makes a lot of sense. So I'm probably going to take money out of that Mbermo position. Like, this is my idea of moves going into 15. Like, I'm not going to do it this week, but I'm thinking something like Mbermo to Semenyo, and then Rico Lewis to Trent Alexander-Arnold. That would still leave me with 0.7 in the bank, so I've got plenty of flexibility, and then I might use that money to potentially upgrade one of Ait-Nouri or Leif Davis, or potentially Morgan Rogers as well, if I decide that I'm not particularly impressed with him. That's probably what I'm looking at doing. It does leave my midfield a little bit weaker with Rogers and Semenyo in there, but I just like the idea of getting Trent Alexander-Arnold in. The more I look at it, like this run of games here, if he's getting good minutes, I mean, I could go for Van Dijk as well, but I'm probably looking at taking money out of that Mbermo position. And that's obviously the issue. Like, if you go for Jared Bowen or Erdegaard or Luis Diaz or someone like that, you're locking up money in that spot, which then can't be spent elsewhere. So you've got to be pretty committed at that point to keeping money in that midfield spot, I think. God, why is my nose so blocked? I do apologise. Would you do Jackson in for Wissa? If it's for free, yes. If it's for a hit, no. But yeah, I like the move Jack in general. Like Jackson is a big upgrade on Wissa, but I don't know that I would want to take a hit for it. Sell Canate for Timber or Gomez. I prefer Timber to Gomez myself. Villain has dropped his... Okay, we've got Villain's predictions. Sorry about the wait. Predict Emery, Brentford. Could be anything this week. Some really low percentages across the board. Main takes are that I'm pretty sure Duran will start either this or Saturday. Rodgers is not playing well and not certain to start. Without reading through his commentary... Oh, he's got Luca Dean on the bench. Maybe if you've got a benching headache with your defenders... There's not my prediction, but if there is a chance that Luca Dean's on the bench, maybe that gives you enough to just say, I'll bench Luca Dean. This is why I don't want to start Rodgers. He's got Rodgers down at 60%. Like, that's not very high. Yeah, he said here, play your Brentford attackers as well. Like, Villa aren't performing particularly well at the moment. You can't see that part of the tweet, can you? Let me show you there. He said here, like, play your Brentford attackers. I think I'm going to keep Rodgers on the bench. By the way, he could start and he could haul, but I think I'm happy with that decision overall. Dallo or Vandenberg first on the bench? I'd probably have Dallo, Pickle. But both of them are not going to get a lot of points. I can't see Brentford keeping Villa out, and Vandenberg's not got much attacking threat. Dallo's not going to keep a clean sheet, but he's got a bit more attacking threat. Could be a low-scoring game. I'd probably start... I'd have Dallo ahead of Vandenberg, personally. Wood, JP, Haaland, Saka, Mbeumo, Powell. Who's PAL? Palmer, I assume. Rodgers, Semenyo, Wood. Cunha -4. Are you saying Wood to Cunha -4? I wouldn't do Wood to Cunha for a -4, no. I don't think Cunha's that great of an option this week. Ben says, hi Ross, bench 3, Mikalenko, Rico Lewis, 8 Nuri, Rodgers, Semenyo, Cunha, João Pedro, Isak. Cheers. So I assume you can bench 2 of the defenders? I mean, I'd probably start Mikalenko as the... I'd say Mikalenko, 8 Nuri, Rico Lewis. Then with the attackers, I think you've got to bench... It's probably Rodgers or João Pedro out of those options I'd bench. Maybe Semenyo. I think Semenyo could do well against Spurs, though. It's a tough one. I think with benching decisions, you're better off trusting your gut feeling than trusting me. Start 2 out of Rodgers and Mbeumo Wood, or take a hit for Jackson and start him. I'd start Rodgers and Mbeumo and bench Chris Wood. I'd bench Chris Wood. I know City aren't defending particularly well, but it's still City at the Etihad. So I'd start the other 2, probably. Start Mikalenko or Timber. I'd start Yuri and Timber. I'd always start my Arsenal defenders. I don't think there's any justification at the moment to bench an Arsenal defender, ahead of anyone, really. I can't think of any setup defensively that would make me want to bench an Arsenal defender. Hope you're well, Ross. Erdegaard or Bowen in for Mbeumo? Do you know what? I think I marginally prefer Erdegaard. I think. Selkan, I did that one. Cool, I think I'm all caught up. You've got, by the way, just over 10 minutes until the deadline. That's flown by. Just over 10 minutes until the deadline. I think I'm going to leave it as is. I think there's part of me that wants to start Rodgers ahead of João Pedro or Isak, but I think I've had it like this now for over 24 hours, and I'm always hesitant to make last-minute changes. They usually backfire for me. So I think I'm going to start Leif Davis, and I'm going to start Isak and João Pedro, and that means that Rodgers and Lewis will be on the bench. I might end up regretting it. Harry Panero in the chat. Good to see you, my man. Mateta or Cunha? If you're asking to buy one, it's definitely Mateus Cunha. After this week, Mateta's not got a good fixture. If you're asking me just for this week to start one, Mateta's got Ipswich, Cunha's got Everton. So basically, I prefer Mateta for this week, but Cunha for the next 4 is a much better option than Mateta for me. So if it's buying one, I'd buy Cunha ahead of Mateta. Team looks good, Ross. Thank you, Pickle. I appreciate that. I'm happy with it. I really don't like benching Rodgers against Brentford at home. I'll be honest. It feels awful. But I also like that all 7 of my attackers right now are on penalties. I'm just backing my 7 penalty takers, basically. Bench 1 of Porro, Gabriel, Trent, Timber. In that position, you bench Timber. That is one of Then what I would say, sorry, the camera's lagging out a bit. What I would say is you've got way too much money invested in your defense there. I feel like you need to sell Pedro Porro as soon as possible. That's way, way, way too much money in your defense. Like, you shouldn't have 4 premium defenders, I don't think. So, yeah, this week, yes, I would actually bench Timber, but I just think you need to remove some money from that defense. All right, 10 minutes until the deadline. Start thinking about getting your teams locked in. Whoa, whoa, whoa. My computer is struggling right now. Joaquin says, hi, mate. Bench Wood, Semenyo, and Burmo or Isak. Great stream as always. Thank you very much, mate. I would bench Chris Wood. I would bench Wood. Fabianski, Gabriel, Aitnuri, Colwell, Saka, Semenyo, Salah, Palmer and Burmo, Pedro, Cunha. Very nice team, Andre. Your bench is Verbruggen, Isak, Hall, and Canate. Wow, it's a good team. What do you think about bench Isak? Yeah, I think benching Isak's fine there. The other options you've got is maybe João Pedro or Semenyo. But honestly, yeah, I have no issue with benching Isak there. I think he's an absolutely fine player to put on the bench this week. As much as I'm starting him and hoping, what am I really hoping for from Isak? Probably a goal, maximum. I'm not expecting 2 returns for Alexander Isak, so I think you're fine benching him this week. You're also fine selling him as well. Chris says bench 1 of him, Burmo, Delap, Bruno. That's very, very, very tough. I would bench... Oh, would I? I'd bench Delap, but I think that's very, very close, Chris. Play Verbruggen or Fabianski. I would play Fabianski ahead of Verbruggen, just about. I think that is... They're genuine like 50-50 decisions. So just back your gut feeling on that, I think. Hi, Ross. Salah or Palmer captain? I think Palmer this week. It's not very close for me. I just think Palmer's a much better captaincy option. The fixture's just much better. Like, Newcastle haven't actually been bad defensively this season. They're about 9th across the season for non-penalty expected goals against. Across the last 6, they're in the top 5. So Newcastle have been defending okay. I don't think this is as great of a fixture, and especially because it's away as well. I don't think Liverpool score more than 2 goals in this game is my prediction. Your front 7 is identical to mine. Great minds think alike. I feel like I've got to start Chris Wood now, hearing Ross recommended everyone to bench him. Yeah, probably, to be honest. Start Kelleher or Verbruggen. I'd start Verbruggen. Although, I think Kelleher will start again. But I just think Newcastle score. I would start Verbruggen, I think. Ross, do you think Solanke will play? Yeah, I think he will, because he was only ill. But it really does depend on what illness. Like, the illness that I had recently... The thought of being able to run around and play football, I would have been out of action for... Has my camera gone again? Jesus Christ, I'm redoing a new camera. The thought of running around and playing football, I wouldn't have been able to play football for over 2 weeks. I wouldn't have had the energy. So just because it's an illness doesn't mean that the player is going to be fine after 2 days. Like, it really depends what the illness is. So I think Solanke will start and be okay. But I don't know that because I don't know what his injury... Sorry, I don't know what his illness is. And that's what you need to know is the illness. There's also... That was a really ugly... what am I trying to say? That was a really ugly pause. I don't know what I was going to say. Yeah. Also, the other thing to note is apparently Solanke trained once and then come back from training. And then apparently he went in the next day and they sent him home because he looked really ill again. So Solanke's clearly got quite a serious illness. But... Because it's not until Thursday, I think that Solanke will probably... My prediction is anyway that Solanke will probably be fine to start. It's a long way of saying that I basically don't know. Sorry, chat. Just taking some painkillers there. Don't mind me. Off camera. Hello, I'm back. 7 minutes until the deadline. You are correct. Not long now. Start Isak or Semenyo. That's extremely tough. I would just about lean Isak for the penalties. And the greater goal threat as well. Cunha, João, Wissa, Gabriel, Ola Aina, 8 Nuri, Davis, Greaves, Salah, Saka, Palmer, Rodgers, and Mbeumo. Should I roll, sell Mbeumo, or make a defensive change? If keep Mbeumo, bench him for Rodgers. No, I would start Mbeumo ahead of Rodgers, and I think I would keep him. I don't think you desperately need to make a defender change there. I think you can play Gabriel, 8 Nuri, and Davis, and then bench Aina and Greaves. I'd probably roll the transfer, Dave, if it was my team. Ross, should I do Wood to Jackson and bench Pedro/Rodgers, or roll? Yeah, I would probably do that, and I'd probably bench Rodgers. I think Jackson's got such high upside this week that if you've got an easy route to him, I would just do it. Strand Larsen, yay or nay? I mean, yay, I'd keep him. Nay, I would not transfer Strand Larsen in. His goal threat isn't high enough. I know he's just got a brace, but his goal threat is really low in terms of his numbers. Ross, how can I claw back a 70-point gap to my brother? Week by week. Week by week. All you need to do is make up 5 points. Then another 5 points here. Then you need to play your chip slightly better than him. Then you don't need to make up 70 points in 1 week. So I would just keep playing the game, keep differentiating, make the odd different decision here and there, and then that will be enough. By the way, cheeky request with 5 minutes till the deadline. If you've enjoyed this deadline stream and you're not subscribed, or if this is the first time you're watching me, please do consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. Trying to hit 140,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and we are only just over 600 subscribers away. So yeah, there are 600 of you watching right now that aren't subscribed. Please do consider subscribing. But yeah, less than 5 minutes till the deadline. Would you start Fabianski or Raya? I would start Raya ahead of Fabianski. Start Rodgers or Semenyo? I would start Semenyo ahead of Rodgers. Raul Jimenez or Rodgers? That's very close, but I'd just about start Raul Jimenez. Start Welbeck or Isak? Oh, that's tough. I would start Isak, I think. I'm very biased. I love Isak as an option. Maybe don't ask me Isak questions. I'm a big Isak lover, which is why I'm not selling him this week. Who is the best forward to bring in? Probably Nicholas Jackson this week. Otherwise, it's still João Pedro and Cunha for me, the best 2 assets. Would you start Fabianski or Flecken? I'd start Fabianski. Why not sell Mbeumo? Because I think Mbeumo is an absolutely fine asset to hold. Why are you so against Rodgers? I wouldn't say I'm against Rodgers, but people are giving me very difficult benching decisions. And Rodgers hasn't been playing well recently, and his minutes have been a little bit low. And it's a midweek game, so I would expect his minutes to be low again. I mean, they're not that low. He got 90 and 81 here, but I don't know, like 63 here, 56, 68, 65. If you look at his data over the last 3, 0.22, 0.23, 0.00, there's a 0.16 game here, a 0.07 game here. He's had a couple of games where he's had a couple of chances, but outside that, like Rodgers isn't really getting involved in those final actions. So it's not that I'm really against Rodgers. I just think there are really good assets that you're making me choose between, and I've got to bench one of them in the questions you've given me. Do just sell Isak for Jackson. I would probably be very happy to have that this week, but going into game week 15, as long as Isak is fit, I would rather own Isak for 15, 16, and 17 than Jackson. Kieran says, do I A, sell Isak for Jackson, B, sell McNeil for Semenyo and start him, or C, roll? I have Mbeumo and Flecken and I want to get rid next game week. I would probably roll the transfer then. If you've got moves you want to make next week, I don't think any of those transfers are like desperate moves. If that was my team, I would just roll the transfer. I don't think any of those are desperate. Pratik says, start Aina or Mikalenko. I would start Mikalenko. FMJ says, bench-wise, Mbeumo, Bruno, Matoma, Cunha, João Pedro. I think it's probably João Pedro that I would bench, or Matoma. I'd probably bench Matoma from those 5 options. I'd bench Matoma, yeah. Start one of Hall, Vandenberg, Aina. I'd probably start Ola Aina, and then Flecken or Sells, I'd start Flecken. Yeah, I'd start Flecken and Aina there from those options. You've got just under 2 minutes till the deadline. Just under 2 minutes until the deadline. Make sure you lock in those teams. Why start Isak over Semenyo? Penalties, greater goal threat, home fixture. No, Semenyo's at home, isn't he? That doesn't apply. I just think Isak's a better asset overall. Will Gvardiol start? I think so. Hi, Ross. Who would you start between Greaves and Lewis? I would start Lewis ahead of Greaves. Yeah, I'd start Rico Lewis. Start Davis or 8 Nuri. I prefer 8 Nuri just about. Do you think Greaves gets back into the Ipswich 11? I've got no idea, but I would predict so, yes. Less than 1 minute until the deadline. Get your teams locked in. Probably stop asking questions. Verbruggen or Raya. I would personally back the better defence, so I would go for Raya. Concert or Kirkes. Very, very tough one. I think both concede, so I would go for the more attacking one in Kirkes. Haaland captain. Yeah, I don't mind Haaland captain. I just prefer Palmer, personally. Luke Shaw is injured again. Oh, that's annoying. Oh, that's terrible from a Manchester United perspective. Not what we want to see. That probably makes Saka a better option. Do you know what? That makes Saka a captaincy option. It's too late now to change it, but no Martinez and no Shaw. We're going to have to play someone like Mazraoui at left centre-back, probably. It's not great. Start Mazraoui or Lewis. I'd start Rico Lewis ahead of Mazraoui. Fabianski or Pickford. I'd start Pickford. Right, that is it. The deadline is there and done and dusted. We made it. I will carry on streaming for a bit. I'm going to go blow my nose because I'm very sniffly and it's very annoying. Like, I hate watching streamers that are sniffing and swallowing down the mic. I find it very gross. So I'm going to go mute myself, go blow my nose, and then I'll come back and I'll answer some of your questions. So stick around. If you are leaving, make sure to subscribe on the way out, but don't leave because I'm going to be back in approximately 2 minutes. No, 1 minute. 30 seconds. I'll be back soon. Hello. If you're just joining, Ross is blazing a doobie right now. Right, this is just not true. Come on stream, Pickle. Yeah, Pickle's not here, sadly. Very sad times. Only the OG fans in the chat. But why 2,500 people still here? You're crazy. Thank you for waiting for me. I needed to blow my nose. I was like sniffling down the microphone. It was gross. But I didn't want to obviously do that in the middle of the stream, so there we go. Bowen Stinker, we will be... Oh, I need to tweet my team. Bowen Stinker, we will be there. I hope so. I do. Because he's a very popular transfer in. Oh, we love you, bro. I love you. Best part of the stream. Thank you, Shazam. I appreciate that. Right, let me tweet my team out. No. What am I doing? Right, I already got a tweet. I already got a tweet drafted because I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to make any changes. Right, tweet, and then I have to post on Blue Sky as well. Not to be a hater, but I think Bowen was a very overrated pick this game week. I hope you are right. I'm sure I'll be proved wrong. Well, this is the best fixture, right, against Leicester away. So if he doesn't do well this week, then you're regretting that transfer immediately. Frosty made the move, which I find very interesting. The fixtures are absolutely there for Bowen. His data's been woeful, hasn't it? We love you, bro. I don't type a lot, though. I appreciate you typing that, though. Appreciate the love. 760,000 people have sold in Burmo. Oof. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see. Right. Just putting it on Blue Sky. Is Blue Sky good? It's basically like Twitter, but without all of the PORN, without the bots, without the politics. It's basically just Twitter, but without all of the stuff that you don't really want with it. So yeah, it's not bad. It's just a little bit smaller. And I suppose if you're not a big account already and you don't already have loads of followers, you probably won't recognize a difference. But for me, I'll post a tweet where I've got 180,000 followers and I'll get like 100 responses. And then I post on Blue Sky and I get like 3. So I just get more interactions on Twitter, which is why I prefer over there, you know? Right, posted. Regretting Palmer captain, I think he'll start on the bench. I'd be surprised if he starts on the bench, but I suppose you never know. Are you going into any United games soon? Yeah, I'm going to the Manchester United-Newcastle game with Pickle, courtesy of Manchester United, on the 30th of December, which is pretty cool. There's like an influencer event thing that they've invited me to. So yeah, I'm going on the 30th of December to Manchester United against Newcastle. Should be a good game. Why my computer struggle? I'm not getting into this. I'm not getting into the whole Twitter versus Blue Sky stuff. We had that discussion last week. You've got two sides of two different people. That just if you don't agree, you stick to the platform you like. You don't have to slate the other platform. All it is people on Blue Sky slating Twitter, and then people on Twitter slating Blue Sky. It's like, just get a grip. You know, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it. Hey, Ross, if someone wanted to start making content about anything, not necessarily FPL, what's your best advice? What is my best advice? Start. Honestly, just start. The best advice, there's loads of extra little tips I can give you about buy this camera or get this microphone or do it in this niche. But at the end of the day, you can't gain subscribers and you can't make a living from it and enjoy yourself if you've not started. So I would just say start. I would say that audio is more important than people realize. Like, people buy a really nice camera. Don't start making jokes to me about my camera, by the way. People buy a really nice camera and then their microphone's rubbish or their room's really echoey. I know my audio quality is not fantastic, by the way. Like, if you listen to my audio on FPL Therapy versus here, it's very different. Like, my audio is not great because of the room that I'm in, but this microphone's like a couple of £100. It's worth the investment to sound good. So I would say you need to invest a little bit in lighting, camera, and microphone. The other thing is make content that you have. We call it, well, I say we call it, a lot of influencers and creators call it an unfair advantage. Is there something that you have an unfair advantage in? My unfair advantage, I would say, is that I lecture and present for a living. So my unfair advantage, you might disagree, is my communicative skills. Like, I can communicate relatively well and I present well and I can do looking at a camera without notes and winging it. So my unfair advantage is the ability to sit here for 40 minutes without any notes and speak non-stop. Like, if you watch FPL Therapy across the last 2 weeks, by the way, I've got notes, but that is just me talking non-stop for an hour and a half. So that's my unfair advantage. Also, my unfair advantage is psychology. So what have I done within FPL? Well, my videos are longer than everyone else's, and that's because that's my little niche within it. And I also talk about psychology a lot, which people enjoy. So those are the two things that I feel like I have as an advantage over other people. So that's me within FPL, but I also think you need to be passionate about what you're doing. There is nothing worse than watching a YouTube video where someone's like, and today we're going to talk about this. Can you imagine if my stream was me just doing this and I wasn't that excited about it? It doesn't matter how good your microphone and camera is at that point, all right? If you can't engage your audience, I would say that it's probably a bit of a no-go with YouTube. Also, whilst we're on the rant about YouTube, it depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to have fun and share knowledge, well, it doesn't really matter if you make a living off it. It doesn't matter if you have 100 people watching or 100,000. But if you're trying to earn a living, then you need to be good at what you do. And so I feel like learning to engage an audience, learning to present to a camera, and being passionate about what you do are very important. I don't even know if that made any sense or was helpful, but I think people need to like you as a person. Like, if you think about the YouTubers that you watch, it's very rare, unless there's like a niche thing, like you watch for, let's say, I know, for example, my girlfriend, FPL Pickle, she's doing like medical studies. So she will watch channels where you're literally watching them for the information. But most of the time, you're watching a YouTuber because you like that person. Like, if I think about, I watch like fitness influencers, I watch them because I like them as a person, not because I like their physique. If I think about, like, I watch some golf YouTube, I don't watch people that are just good at golf. I watch them because I like their personalities. So I feel like your personality and who you are as a person is the most important thing in terms of how you like create your image online. And I don't recommend, by the way, that you create a persona. I think that's really cringy. I'm not going to lie. Like, when you meet someone in real life and they're completely different to the way they are on camera, that's not what you want, because it's you'll get burned out, right? There's no ability for anyone over like a 10 or 15 year spell to put on this character constantly. Like, it has to be truly you, but you have to find a way to engage the person in that setting. I'm going to leave it there. But I could talk about YouTube all day. Like, I'm obsessed with YouTube. There are other things, like I'm obsessed with YouTube analytics. Like, I'm constantly looking to find ways to improve my content. I am an absolute perfectionist, and I'm looking at micro details. Like, you wouldn't, apart from my camera that keeps freezing, but with my graphics and the way that I'm presenting my structure, I'm always looking for ways to improve. So there are other things, but yeah. Right, I'm reading the chat again. Ross and Bryson break 50. I love Bryson. I've got a massive man crush on Bryson. Anyone that watches golf content's got a bit of a man crush on Bryson, I think. Are you still playing Fantasy United? I absolutely am, yeah. By the way, that video should be coming out soon with the Manchester United, wink, wink, the Manchester United first team. That's all I can say. What is your dream holiday with Pickle? We want to go to like, I think I just want to go to like a really bougie destination and all-inclusive. I've never gone on like a really expensive holiday. So somewhere like Jamaica or Barbados, you know, where it's just like overindulgent. In terms of more realistic holidays at the moment, we both want to go to Denmark to try that out. I'd like to do that. Pickle's been to Iceland a few times, and I'd quite like to go. So that's another place. I'm just reading back through the chat. Pickle says, I'm quite jealous of this trait. It's a massive reason as to why I'm hesitant about the podcast thing. Yeah, like, some people are better at just speaking on the spot. And some people aren't. It's just, I do think there is an element of nature nurture. Like some people are just better, but I also think you can teach it as well. People buy a really nice camera, then you get the yoke holder with his potato camera. Listen, the camera's fine, it just freezes. And it lags because of my computer. We're working on it. When I say we're working on it, we're not, but we are going to try. Right, where am I? Where was I up to? You're right, Ross. If your face is on a stream, you need to grip your viewers' attention at all times. Otherwise, people will get bored, especially if you're doing longer videos. Yeah, that's the difficult. You just want your... Right, there's two things to YouTube. I'm still talking about YouTube. Two things. You want people to click your video, right? So there's got to be something about the thumbnail, title, niche element of your channel which makes people click. And then you need to keep people on your channel. So if you want to simplify YouTube, how do you get people to click and how do you get people to not click off? They're the two things. FPL Jelly says, oh, stop being modest, Rush. Your unfair advantage is your raw sex appeal. You know it. Obviously. That's why 3% of my channel are females. 3% of my channel. Crazy. It means 97 of you, lovely lot, are men. But that's okay. I'm here for the Leif Davis content, aren't we all? Working on it for the last 2 years. Shut up, Frosty. Oh, it's good sometimes. Sometimes very good, sometimes sometimes very bad. Right now, not very good. Why haven't you got a new PC yet? I'm just putting it off because I don't know what PC to order, I'll be honest. I'm waiting for someone to DM me that they know everything about gaming computers and help me. It's your sex appeal to us blokes, I think he meant. And Pickle says you know you attract men. I'll be honest. If I'm being very honest with you, chat, I attract men and I attract older women. If you are male or over at the age of 40, then you love me. That's the style of person that I attract. There's no issue with that. I also managed to attract FPL Pickle. So who's the real winner? Me. I'm the real winner. Who's your favourite vlogger, Ross? Mine is Life of Tom. Life of Tom. I have not missed the Life of Tom vlog in God knows how long. In fact, I can probably show you. I can probably prove that to you. Let me find. I know the things are going to come out now, by the way. The lineups. I'll show you. I wanted to show you this. Oh, no. You're going to be able to see how much of a fanboy I am of Life of Tom. If I bring this over here. Are you going to be able to see that? You can see the retention on all of the videos. By the way, the red bar means that I've watched all of it. I don't miss Tom's vlogs. I think he's a legend. But I've always enjoyed watching him even when he was a gamer back in the day. But yeah, Tom, if you don't watch Life of Tom, by the way, I've not watched yesterday's one. So I need to get onto that. But if you don't watch Tom, I highly recommend it. Absolute legend. Just really, really enjoyable vlogs. I wish I could vlog that well, but I don't think I'd be very good at vlogging. Well, I don't think I'd be bad, but I equally don't think I'd be great. Who do we want to see? Who are the chat? Who's playing at 7:30? Is it Ipswich? I think it's Ipswich, right? Leif Davis starts. Delap starts. Schmodik's on the bench. Interesting. Greaves is in the starting 11. If you've got Greaves is back in the starting 11. Probably makes them a slightly stronger defence as well. Who are they starting against? They're starting against Palace. They're playing against Palace. Yes, as expected. Mateta, Eze, Munoz, Henderson all start. I love listening to you, my darling. My Nan in the chat, what a legend. Nana Raptor just said, I love listening to you, my darling. I love that you love listening to me. It means a lot that my family always watch and listen. Camera, go away, get in the bin, and how about you actually behave yourself for once? I'm very hungry. I don't know what I'm having for dinner tonight, but I'm very, very hungry. I think, is that the only game on at 7:30? It is, isn't it? Ross, are you a big Christmas guy? I am, yeah. I'm not like... When I say I'm a big Christmas guy, I'm not like... I wouldn't say it's like a weird levels of like loving Christmas. You know? Should I show you I could show you my Christmas tree maybe. One sec. Let me see if this is feasible. Hello, chat. I'm going to try. I'm going to reveal all, okay? Now, this is... this is seeing behind the scenes, okay? I don't know how well this is going to go, but I want to show you my Christmas tree, because FPL Pickle and me put this up not long ago. And so... Wait, where's my green screen? Hello, chat. Just me poking over. Just see loads of teeth. Hello. This is my green. If you're wondering what the green screen looks like, it's by the way, it's this big thing. I've got a big. It's called. It's an Elgato green screen. Green screen. So. Da-dum, da-dum. No, wait. It's because it's reversed. I'm getting really confused. Wait. This is my need to turn your chroma key off. Oh yeah. Oh ow. Hello. This is my advent calendar. One sec. Frosty's made a good point. I feel like I'm gonna break everything here. I'm gonna break everything. Chroma key off. Yeah, right. That should look better now. The chroma key's off. Yeah, that looks better. This is my advent calendar. I've already had. Oh, Pickle, I had your. Yeah, I've had your chocolate. And this was Pickle's advent calendar. So she got the Tonys, I got a Cadbury's. I'm a big Cadbury's kind of man. Chat, I almost died. Christmas. Wait, I want to sit this further this way so you can see more of the Christmas tree. Christmas. Plugging the book in the background, I respect it. Coming to a store near you. Have you been watching some of Andy the Gardener's videos, Ross? I actually haven't. I love Andy on Tom's videos, but I don't know that I'd want to go and watch his vlogs myself. But maybe they're good. I'm going to show how unbelievably middle class I am here that I have a Bon Maman. I don't even know what that is, Frosty. That shows how I'm not middle class. Welcome to my crib. What is Bon Maman? This is what I was going to say, Pickle. I'm not middle class enough. I feel like I look really weird without a green screen. You're so used to seeing me with a green screen, chat. The issue is now I need to get my green screen back if I want to go into my team, because otherwise it's going to look really weird. It's going to look like this. Do you know what? That's pretty cute. One sec. No, do you know what? I can just leave it like that, really, can't I? There you go. No green screen, just the Christmas tree in the background. Is there an egg ornament in the tree? No, I probably should get one though, shouldn't I? What was that FPL psychology podcast you did a while ago? It was on FPL therapy with Simon March. I'll copy the link into the. I'll copy the link now into the chat. Here you go. If anyone wants to watch a psychology podcast, this isn't relevant to a specific game week. So if you want some content to watch of mine that you can watch at any point, this is a psychology podcast I did with Simon March. Should be good. It's just a little bit too high. I need to just do this a little bit. Wait, that makes no sense. No, what am I doing? That's not right. Yeah, that. I just need to lower it a little bit. No, just lower a little bit. There we go. Need to go to the side a little bit. That's better. Bang. We're good. Bit laggy. No. Stop lagging. Sorry, right. Anyway. What was happening? Watched it over the international break. I'm glad. Thank you. What is your favourite Christmas movie? I would say, not really, well, it is a Christmas movie. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Or Scrooged with the D on the end. I would say National Lampoon's is my favourite Christmas movie. I actually prefer the tree in the background. It looks good, right? When was the last time you played a footy goal with jumpers for goalposts, if ever? Not 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Home Alone. I'd like Home Alone, but Home Alone's not like my... I wouldn't say that Home Alone is like right up there for me, but I would watch it. Die Hard. Are we going to have the classic, is Die Hard a Christmas film or not? Elf. Yeah, Elf's a good film. I like Will Ferrell, so it's good. Batman Returns. Batman Returns is not a Christmas movie. Don't start. The Grinch. Yeah, The Grinch isn't bad as well. I like funny films, especially at Christmas, so I would go National Lampoons and Scrooged because they're both quite funny. Gremlins? Gremlins is a good film. 100% Die Hard is a Christmas film. Fair. Die Hard is 100. Okay, people. I don't think Die Hard is a Christmas. Oh, sorry. If you don't think Die Hard is a Christmas film, I don't know what to say. Okay. I mean, I agree with you. It's just there's always a discussion every year, isn't there? What are you and Pickle buying for each other? I can't tell you that because Pickle's in the stream. We could pull a Christmas cracker, chat. I mean, I would be pulling it myself, but we could pull a Christmas cracker. What is National Lampoons? Just type in National Lampoons Christmas Vacation and watch that film. It's absolutely brilliant. So funny. When is it acceptable to start listening to Christmas music? December the 1st, late November. I always tend to do everything on December the 1st. I went out shopping last weekend and saw so many things you need to buy for Pickle. Yeah. I assume they were all Pickle related. She's getting Ross a new computer. I don't think so. Someone give him pulling thin air, please. No. Why is there screaming outside? Don't know what that is. Chat, what should I have for dinner? What should I have for dinner? It's a Tuesday evening. I feel like you can't be as cheeky as you would be on a Saturday or a Friday, you know? Keep forgetting it's a Tuesday because I'm streaming. She buys you a mic, you might have to marry her. Thai food. 2 for Tuesday. I don't need 2 though, do I? Because I'm only one person. Biryani. I could. Don't pull it yourself. You don't have wood. Stop it. Naughty. Stir fry. Chinese. I Chinese on Saturday. Or Sunday, actually. Chippy chips. Chippy chips. Cook for Pickle. I don't live with Pickle. Pickle's not here right now. Pickle's arriving tomorrow, though. Oh, Pickle, are you still here? Say yes if you're still here. I've got something to tell you. What about cheeky Nando's? I had Nando's on Sunday. You're starting to realize here how much money I spend on takeaways. I had Chinese on Saturday and Nando's on Sunday. Okay, Pickle. I know we didn't agree to this, but on the Tesco shop that I did today, I have ordered all the stuff for you to make me a bolognese. Pickle makes a cracking bolognese, so I've ordered all of the ingredients, and can you make me a bolognese, please? Thank you. Appreciate it. Pasta arrabbiata for a low-key Tuesday. I would love an arrabbiata, but I can't be bothered to make that, so I'd have to order it. You know. What's your go-to at Nando's? Medium chicken thighs. Are you not a good chef for us? I'm a good chef, but Pickle's a great chef, and she makes a really nice bolognese. So, I'm going to ask her to make me a bolognese. Italian food is the best. I would say Italian food is the second best. Indian, Italian. Those are the best 2 cuisines for me. Those are the best cuisines. I'm having a Pizza Hut deal. 4 toppings, medium pizza, cheesy garlic bread, and a Pepsi Max. You're tempting me. I don't... Yeah. Oh, I'm so hungry. Traditional bolognese or a British version of bolognese? I don't know what traditional versus British version is. I'm assuming a traditional version, but it might be the British version. I'm having spag bowl, making it with you in the background. That's very, very nice. I would like spag bowl right now. Can you send me some? What's your go-to Indian order? Always a chicken madras or a Rogan Josh, but normally a madras. Traditional bolognese has milk in it. Oh no, she doesn't put milk in it then, so it's probably a UK version of bolognese then. Oh snap! Did I miss the deadline? Yeah, the deadline was at 6 p.m. Couscous. What? I just have couscous for dinner. I could have couscous for dinner. I'm making a northeastern Indian chicken curry today. I'm very jealous. Cheese toasty with tomato soup. Sounds very wholesome, to be fair. Cooking stream. Just get my bro an Indian citizenship already. I love Indian cuisine. I honestly might get an Indian tonight. Genuinely, yeah, I can get it to Nottingham in 2 hours' time. Max, can you imagine if you drove all the way to Nottingham and just dropped me off some food? That'd be so funny. Any Indo-Italian places out your way? Indo-Italian? Do they exist, or are you pulling my leg? Have a katsu curry, Ross. It's just a bit mild for me, a katsu curry. I like a little bit of spice. Is Chinese high in your Raptor ranking or not a fan of it? I would say Chinese would be maybe my 4th favorite food. I would say it's probably Indian, Italian, maybe Mexican, then China. Maybe Chinese above Mexican. Indian and Italian for me are in a league of their own. They're definitely my 2 favorites. Ross isn't half fussy, is he? I'm actually not at all fussy. I like spicy stuff. It's just that katsu curry is quite plain, isn't it? I feel like I've got to be in the mood for a katsu curry. Do you like baked potatoes, and how often do you eat it? Once every 2 weeks? And yeah, I don't mind jacket potatoes. Katsu is the equivalent of a korma. Big L and definitely best to make if your own. Yeah, I agree. What's your favourite kebab? I would say a chicken doner. I'm not a massive fan of lamb. I know that upsets people, but I would always go chicken. Chicken shish is nice. I'd go chicken doner, though. Which apparently I found out is different in the south to the north. I ordered a chicken doner in Birmingham, and let me tell you, it was not like a chicken doner in London. And I wasn't aware that they were different. So there we go. Maybe it's a southern thing. How spicy do you do Nando's? Just a medium. Just a medium. Have you ever been to German doner kebab? No, Frosty, but I always see it and I'm always tempted. Check the lineups. Oh yeah, we've got the next set. What is the next game? I don't even know who plays tonight. Chat, who's the other game tonight? Is it West Ham Leicester? Tell me. West Ham Leicester. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't think... Well, like, Jared Bowen will be starting. I guess it's good to confirm that Fabianski is still number 1. Okay. Maybe it's not... Maybe they don't do it now. No, it's not yet, is it? Is it? I'm so confused. You know what? Let me just... When did West Ham kick off? No, West Ham are at 8:15, so we're not going to get the lineup for ages. Ages. Oh, we've already checked the Ipswich lineups, you numpties. Who's telling me to do that? We've done that. We did that like 20 minutes ago. Yeah, Greaves starts, Leave Davis starts, Delap starts. Yeah. I'm actually so hungry. I don't know what I'm going to have, chat, but I'm going to have to go and eat food, sadly. I hope you enjoyed the Christmas tree, though. I hope you enjoyed witnessing that. I'll give you one more look because it's beautiful. It's not the tallest. It's only 5 foot, but it's tall enough, you know? Thank you very much for being here. I do appreciate you very much. Nice and close. No, you don't want me to get any close to the camera. And it feels like a Saturday. I was going to say I'll see you on Sunday. I will not. I'll see you on Thursday for a team selection, Friday for a deadline decisions, Saturday for another deadline stream. Thank you for all of the support recently. I do appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday evening. Maybe I'll let you know what I order on Twitter or something. And yeah, I'll catch you soon. Thank you very much for being here, guys. I appreciate you. Have a good game week as well. See you later.